Muted chat. Muted. Oh my goodness. Muted. Let's get ready to rumble, chat. How y'all doing today? Welcome to another Healthy Gamer stream. My name is Dr. Alok Kanoja. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in Boston, Massachusetts. Just a reminder that everything we discuss on the stream is intended to be for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended to be taken as medical advice, especially today, because we're going to be doing more viewer call-ins. And so, you know, everything that we talk about today is just for sort of educational and informational purposes only. If you guys have a mental health concern, please go see a licensed professional. The cult leader has arrived. Okay, so couple of things. We're going to dive right in, chat. Couple of things. First of all, we're going to be talking this week with Technician, who's the person behind Code Miko about social anxiety on Wednesday. So that should be fun. Code Miko is wild. And then Friday, we're going to be talking with Los Pollos TV about depression. And next week, we're going to have a viewer interview, a community interview about substance use. And yeah, so that's kind of our, you know, the way we're kind of moving forward. So we're trying to do as much as we can for you guys. And like the things that we're trying to balance are, you know, community concerns, talking to streamers that people, you know, are interested in. And so, yeah. So today is going to be about viewer call-ins. And, you know, I know a lot of people have posted questions on Discord and stuff. I saw today on our subreddit, there was like a gigantic pile of questions that someone wanted me to answer. And it's cool that you posted that. It's just, we have to answer them. You know, we're trying to answer questions in a way that is, that like a lot of people have access to. And, oh, interesting. Okay. I'm just looking at our subreddit. So we want to do a better job of getting to questions, and I think we're answering a lot of these questions with some of our super secret projects. Because I think like this is the problem with answering questions, so we're going to do it today. We try to do it, but like really a lot of the questions that people have, I think are like more can be like longitudinally or comprehensively explained. So we're going to do our best to do that. Katie Blue says, I never got a chance to catch your stream, but love your VODs. Awesome. That's why VODs exist. And let's get started. So we're going to have viewer call-ins. Dr. K joined here. Yo.
Hello.
I'll drag him up.
Hello. Oh.
Hello.
Hey, man.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. What do you go by?
Ollie is fine.
Ollie? Okay. How can I help you today, Ollie?
I guess I had a question about relationships. And
Great.
mostly just about a lot of times like I'm not happy in a lot of relationships, but I don't know like how to leave or how to like prioritize myself more,
Sure.
And yeah, I just don't know why I do that. Like I know like the steps to take. Like I'm like, okay, I'll just like, tell him, hey, I'm not really happy. I should probably focus on myself, blah blah blah. But I just can't do it.
Okay.
Or I just like even when the relationship's like coming to an end, I just like start panicking and I try to like fix it. I'm like, oh no, let's try to work it out, even though I really don't want to be in it. And yeah.
Okay. Can you help?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's I'm really glad you came in today and are sharing this question or concern, because I think it's a really important thing that a lot of people struggle with. So I think the way to approach situations like this is to first understand what is going on inside you. So when a relationship is starting to come to an end, let's actually start a little bit before that. So when you say you're unhappy in a relationship, what does that mean?
It's like either I'm bored or I just don't really like the person that I'm with is like hurtful in a certain way, or like are doing something that's just like upsetting me, or it's just
Can you give me an example of what's hurtful in a relationship?
well, I guess the last person that I was with, I mean, they were nice and all, and like it was like a okay relationship overall, but I think a lot of times she would make comments about me being like awkward or like shy and stuff, and it just made me like feel worse about myself, and I never really like spoke up about it. Like whenever she'd say, oh, like I really don't like it when you don't like try to talk to people more, or
Okay.
like you walk really awkwardly, and I don't know, like it kind of just like it makes me act more awkward around her and all that stuff.
Sure.
And yeah, I just but at the time I was like, oh yeah, it's my fault, I'm the dumbass who's awkward, it's not at all you. And
Okay.
yeah.
So
And whenever we had
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, whenever we had like conversations about like breaking things off, it would kind of just go into like me saying, oh no, well I'll try to work on myself, these are things I'll fix eventually in the future, blah blah blah. And yeah.
So in those Okay, so there are a couple of things that we have to kind of like unpack here, okay, Ollie?
Yeah.
So let's start with like what's in your mind when you're in this situation. So when the way you asked the question, you were like, when relationships are unhealthy for me, it was almost like you were saying, I don't have the courage to break up with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, yeah.
But I think that's sort of that could be a little bit misleading, because if in the moment you actually believe what they say, then it's not about courage, because you actually genuinely think that you're at fault.
Yeah.
Right? There are two issues here. One is that you may believe that you're at fault. And so like if you're the problem, like how does breaking up help anything? You need to fix yourself and then the relationship will be healthy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then the other option is that you're not at fault, but you have trouble like being confrontational or stating your views for some reason.
Yeah.
So which, and it can be a blend of both, but which one are we talking about here? Like which
I
one do
think
you fall into?
it's a mix of both. I would say the latter is more like just
Okay.
not being able to like be confrontational and stuff
Okay. So
is like yeah.
how do you feel like, so it sounds like at times when she said, "Oh, you're awkward or you walk funny," you were like, "Yeah, I'm the dumbass that dot dot dot." But then when you do know that you kind of want to break up with them, what gets in the way of you telling them?
I guess kind of just like when I think about it, I'm just like, oh well, like if I go through with this, it's just sorry, I just need to like think about this for a second. I think it's
Good.
just
Take a second to think about it.
I mean, it's like a mix of like emotions. It's not just like, oh, like I don't like one is just I don't I feel like me saying, "Oh, I just don't wanna, like, make this work anymore," sometimes feels like, "Oh, it's just me being, like, weak," you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
like, with that person, like, the issue was just, like, me being, like, a little, like, anxious and stuff or just awkward. And I feel like me saying, like, "Oh, like, I don't wanna do this anymore," felt like, "Oh, like, I have these problems and they're never gonna go away, so why would I try to, like, fix them or something like that?" Or just like, "Oh, like, once I'm done, like, no one else would, like, ever, like, wanna be with me, blah, blah, blah," like, something dramatic like that, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
that's
I understood that last part. I was a little bit confused about some. You said something about this is never going to get better. So what? Help me understand that.
oh, it's just like, like, me, like, ending the things breaking up with them or whatever would mean that, like, oh, I couldn't fix my problem, like, I wasn't able to, like, find a
I see.
solution, so I just gave up. Yeah.
Are you concerned about how they would feel if you broke up with them?
Yeah.
And how do you feel? What are your concerns about their feelings?
I mean, I just don't wanna, like, hurt their feelings or just make them feel bad.
Do you feel responsible for their feelings?
A bit, yeah. Like, not like, like, well, if I, like, do something that, like, hurts them, I, like, feel really bad, and I'm just like, "Oh, why did I do that?"
Yeah, so Ali, there's something really, really dangerous you're doing here, right? So let me just kind of try to lay this out. So, one is there's a fatalistic view about yourself. Like, if I break up with them, I have to fix this problem. I can't fix this problem now, so I won't be able to fix it later. I might as well stay in the relationship. And so, in a
Yeah,
weird way, what you're doing is you're sort of saying, like, I don't have the control or strength, because you call yourself weak, to fix myself. And so there's it's kind of interesting because it's sort of like you don't have the power to control your own life. And then your mind does something really, really dangerous, which is a lethal combination with that one. It's like a combo, which is that you do have the power to control their lives. Because if you don't break up with them, at least they'll be happy. Or if you do break up with them, they'll be sad. And that's something you can fix. So I think the reason
yeah,
that you have trouble in these sorts of situations is because there's like a 1-2 punch of I can't make myself happy, but I can make them happy. And so if you really think about it, it's like a logical no-brainer that like why would you cuz you're if you break up with them, it's not like you're going to be able to fix the problem anyway. So why would you hurt them if you're just going to be screwed on your own and you're going to screw them over too? Why not just stay in the relationship and at least make them happy because it's not like you're salvageable?
yeah.
Does that resonate at all or not so much?
Um, yeah, I mean, that's kinda on the spot, really.
So that's tricky, right? Because it's like this is where I want you to understand, Ali, you're not stupid and you're not weak. You're actually like a caring, intelligent person. And you're just making that judgment call based on the data that you've got, which is like I can make them happy and stay in the relationship and sacrifice my own happiness. But even if I break up with them, it's not like I'm going to be happy anyway. So there's like, it's like a no brainer of a choice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, like, it's not it. I'm kind of just like the way I work it in my head. Like
Exactly.
it's
The way
not.
you work it in your head
Yeah.
is like it's just a terrible idea on all fronts to break up, because breaking up is going to hurt them and it's not going to help you. So why do it? You might as well
Yeah.
work on yourself, fix yourself in the relationship, and then everything will change. So if you want
Yeah.
to tackle that 1-2 punch of I can make their life better and I can't make mine better, right? So that's the tricky
Hmm.
thing. If you want to tackle that, you have to tackle those assumptions. So why do you believe that you can't, work on yourself more? Why do you believe, like, where does the belief that you're a weak person come from?
I guess like a mix of things. I don't. I mean, I don't think I'm like entirely a weak person, but I mean, a lot of times when I try to like work on myself, like start building routines, like exercising and all that stuff, like things go well for a while, and then like the littlest thing happens, and it kind of just sets off like a domino effect where everything just
Yep.
kind of fumbles down. So I just feel like, oh, like if I'm reacting so negatively to like the smallest thing, then
Yeah.
I
So
must be weak.
Ali, that's like when the power, or there's a part when you start to put your life together, you have a small setback,
Hmm.
and then there's a part of your mind that says, "I told you so. I told you couldn't
Yeah,
do it." What were you
yeah,
thinking, Ali? That you could
yeah,
put your life together? How stupid can you
yeah.
be? I told you so. You better not try. And so that's the thing that you really, really have to tackle, right? So, like, where does that
Hmm.
voice come from? Because I don't think you're a failure at all. It's just you have a samskar, which is Samskara. You have this
Hmm.
this programming in your mind that tells you, it's like the voice that was implanted in your mind that tells you that you're incapable of change. And
Yeah.
so, like, you really have to dig into where that voice comes from. Do you know?
Um, I think I do kinda ish. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of incidents like that
Yep.
I've like because like I think like I've never been like the smart kid ever, you know, in school at least. And I remember in middle school, I took like we took like I grew up in Iran for like background and stuff. And we had like standardized tests that would kind of evaluate your like math and like language scores and all that stuff. And it was like ranked. And I actually scored like really high on that. And I felt pretty good about myself that day because I was like, oh, maybe I'm not stupid, you know? And I felt like, okay, maybe I can start doing better in school. I can start focusing on myself and like all that stuff. And then the same day, we had like, like binders in our locker rooms and stuff. And like the dean would just check them on daily to make sure we're like organized and stuff. And he checked mine. I'm not a very organized person. So he got very upset at that. And he came to class and he threw the binder at me and started yelling at me, saying I'm like a failure or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess he has a point.
Well, so I think
Yeah,
that's a very insightful story to share, Ali, because that's it, right? It's not
yeah,
just that he threw the binder at you; it's that he threw the binder on at you on the same day that you did well in the class in the standardized
yeah,
test. So it's like when
yeah,
you succeed, you know, like Ali, when you're about to succeed, Ali steps in and snatches defeat from the jaws of victory. Like you're about to win, and then like something shows up and then like teaches you, puts you in your place. How dare you think you're smart, Ali?
yeah.
And so just notice that pattern, because like it's really challenging, because as long as that pattern is there, it's going to be really hard, because anytime you try to take a step forward, the pattern is triggered by your actual success.
Hmm.
Like, does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect
You
sense.
don't
Yeah, I
say I
mean,
told you so until you start succeeding. And that's what's like, it's like this is OP. It's like it's completely broken and needs to be patched. Because any step
yeah,
forward you take, it triggers the pattern. So that it's almost like, I know this is going to sound kind of weird, but when I think about patterns like this, I actually think about HIV. And the problem with HIV is that it attacks the very part of your immune system that fights viruses. And so in that way, like, you have this pattern in your mind that attacks the part of your mind that helps you get out of like negative emotional and mental spaces.
Yeah.
And so this is a sort of situation where I think it's really important to recognize that you're not actually failing. It's just anytime you start to succeed and you're actually succeeding, this pattern is going to wake up and tell you that you're failing. And be aware of that and recognize that, like, the stronger that pattern is, oddly enough, the better you're doing. Because it doesn't turn on unless you're doing well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, it's kind of, I mean, it's also like, I don't know if this is like related or not, but it's also when I do bad, right? Like, I kind of like, it also like activates like in a
Yep.
way where it's like, oh, you're just falling behind again. Like, what's the point of trying? Because like, you're already so behind. And it's stupid, but it's still.
So it's not stupid, Ollie. That's the thing that you've got to
Yeah.
understand, is you have to understand that these thoughts in your mind are coming from experience. And so as long as you treat them as stupid, you're not going to be able to overcome them. And so actually what you want to do is like recognize that in some weird way, your mind is twisting to make that not stupid.
Mhm.
And then you have to learn how to untwist, which is sort of like, there's sort of this "I told you so, you're not worth a whole lot" kind of like attitude. And I think as long as that attitude is there, you're going to continue getting into these situations in your relationships. And to really unpack that attitude, you've got 2 or 3 options. One is to recognize the attitude as it arises and try to be
Mhm.
really objective in those moments about, okay, my mind is telling me "I told you so."
Yeah.
My mind is telling me that I'm not going to do anything. But if I really stop and think about it, I've been exercising for a week, and like, this is one day that I've messed up. So
Yeah.
recognize it and sort of just see. You don't have to tell it it's stupid. You just have to like try to see the other side of the coin. The second thing that you could really do, I mean, this sounds like prime for, depending on what you've been through, I would strongly consider getting evaluated by a mental health professional.
Mhm.
Because maybe there could be elements of like trauma or depression or things like that may be like clinical in nature that you could benefit from. And if you want to work on the samskar itself, you don't have to see a therapist for that if you don't have a clinical sort of issue. And then like coaching is sort of designed to help people work through those kinds of issues and help you understand your patterns. That's really what coaching is about.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that this is not a journey that you need to walk alone. Although I think if you work at it, like I think you can figure it out on your own through meditation, through reflection, things like that. Because you sound to me to be actually a pretty capable guy and very insightful, which I think is really what you need.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that sounds right. I mean, I've been trying therapy for a while. It's just, I don't know, I've yet to like meet someone that's like I'm able to like talk to in like a way where like I feel like there's an understanding or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah, and if there isn't an understanding, whose fault is that?
it's their fault.
Good.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna toss one last thing to you, okay?
Yeah.
It's their fault, but it's also your responsibility.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in. Hopefully that was
Yeah.
helpful.
No, that was really helpful. Yeah. Thank you so much for all the kind words and stuff. All
Thank
that.
you for calling in. I think your question and concern is something that a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm glad. I hope someone else could relate to that too. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, adios.
Wait, next one.
Yeah. It's like 1,000 people in Discord. Now what? Did I leave the No, I'm just alone. All by myself. I hope that Ali doesn't feel... Oh, here we go.
Hello?
Hey.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous.
It's okay. So am I.
So should I start? I should start right away. So my question is about how to get over a friendship, like a friendship breakup. To be more exact, I guess it's a friendship group breakup, but I consider it one. And I'm not really used to it, I guess you could say, because it's like my first one ever. And it's been almost a year now, and I still can't exactly shake the sadness and stuff from that.
Can you tell me what happened?
Honestly, it's like like the beginning was kind of my fault. I'll try to give a brief overview because it's rather long. It started my friend group was with 3 friends, and it started because we were in voice chat one night, and the first friend didn't want to play games that night, so they said they were going to go somewhere. I forgot what exactly, but it was like they said they were going to go somewhere else. Like they weren't just going to play the games that night. And while voice chatting with the other 2 friends in the voice chat, I realized that they were in my friend's server playing a game. So I asked my 2 friends, like, hey, do you want to go to that voice chat? I was in the server because the owner of the server was like a friend of mine, but they weren't. So I asked like my server friend, they said yeah, and then like we joined in, and then I guess she got kind of upset. She didn't say anything. It was like the quietness, and then she just like left the voice chat quietly. And after that, it kind of was my fault, I guess, in the beginning, because after that I spent, for various reasons in between that month, but like for various reasons I didn't text her for a month. At first it was due to like a little bit, the first week was like due to anger a little bit, because I thought it was a very small reason. I didn't really know exactly why she was upset at the time, because I thought maybe that was one of the reasons, but at the same time I thought it was like, well, it's such a minor reason, why would she be upset? And so the first week was just kind of angry. The second week, the second friend in the voice chat that was kind of ignoring me, because I don't know why, but like I was worried about that friendship, because I honestly did not know why they started to ignore me. I felt like, oh, did I do anything more than like I should have done? Because as far as I knew, all I did was like go inside the voice chat, and then she got upset about something and then left. So I was worried about the second friend. And in terms, I guess it was like I was more concerned about the second friend than the first friend, because the first friend for me I considered a petty reason. So I tried to like concentrate on them. And then the third friend kind of like drifted off too. And then I also had to deal with high school graduation. And then the final month, I finally went to them and talked to them, but it didn't turn out that well.
What did you say? How did that conversation go?
The conversation basically, at first, I think I texted the second friend. I told them like a very light message saying like, hey, I wanted to ask you, like, do you know why they are upset? I'm going to text them anyway, so it's okay if you don't answer me. And then the second friend got, maybe you should go talk with that friend. Like it was a little bit passive aggressive, but like, yeah, I really didn't know, but
Help me understand what's passive aggressive about that.
No, it was like it was like passive aggressive in the way it's like maybe you should talk to them instead of asking me the question, kind of thing.
Okay.
And so then like I was sorry, I can't like keep, my brain is not coherent enough right now.
What do you go by? What should I call you today?
Kishi or you?
Kishi?
Yeah, Kishi or you?
Or you?
Yeah, I think Kishi might be either, because you just sounds like you.
Okay. So Kishi, so let me ask you something. Okay. So how are you feeling now about this sort of friend situation? Like what are the feelings, and what kind of thoughts and feelings do you have about it like today?
Honestly, I think most of it is just like I feel I would describe it as kind of like a cycle. Like at first I feel good for maybe a week or two, and then I feel down again and really sad again. It just feels like a cycle I can't really get out of. Like I think yesterday and like or 2 days ago for like the last week I feel good, but then I feel bad again.
What do you feel sad
and
about?
Like, honestly, each time it's almost always about like the same thing or like a different thing. Mostly it's like, could I have done better? Was like my ego getting in the way or something like that? Like technically like guilt, stuff like that. And like occasionally like anger and stuff like that over loss.
Okay. So oddly enough, Kishi, I'm gonna sort of offer a different perspective than the one that you're asking for. And if you feel unsatisfied by that, please let me know, and then we can try to do a little bit more of what you're asking for.
Yeah, of course.
So here's my first thought. Okay, so like let's go through this relationship, and the reason that I'm let's go through this relationship. The reason that I'm taking this approach is because it sounds like you recently graduated from high school. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in college now. I graduated high school back in June.
Okay. Yeah. So like here's my thought is that getting over this particular thing is not as important to me, if I had to put my judgment on it, for someone who's in your situation. I think understanding the relationship dynamics so that you can start to build healthier relationships over the next decade of your life is like the most important thing. So this particular relationship, shit happens in high school. Sometimes people make mistakes, sometimes people aren't nice, whatever. But I think there are a couple of lessons to be taken away or explored from the story that you told me. And my sense is that the best thing for the most help I can give you is that to help you understand some of those relationship dynamics. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, of course. I thought
Okay.
about it a lot though. The thing is, like, typically my relationships go really well. Like, I have plenty of friends. Oh, by the way, this is like an online friendship. I should probably put that as a quick disclaimer. But I think the thing is, like, why I feel so sad about it. Like, I don't think why I can't get over it and why I'm so frustrated is because typically my friendships go well. I think I do tend to make friends easily. I get along with people easily. And I think I almost found it like kind of like a duty to be like a good friend or something like that. So when it kind of like breaks apart, especially when like I think about breaking apart something over something so simple, it kind of like makes me really upset because I really thought it was like kind of like a duty for me kind of. And that's why it was like the first breakup was really difficult.
Okay. So I'm sort of recalibrating a little bit because it sounds. Yeah. So let me just share what I wanted to share, and then we can touch on that last point, which I think is very useful to know that you're good at making friends. And so maybe what's bothering you is like. Yeah, hold on. Give me a sec. Let me think about what order to approach this. Okay, so we're just going to take a step back, okay, Kishi? So let's talk through this relationship, and then we'll talk a little bit about you being good at making friends and what it feels like to be someone who is good at making friends and have friendships fall apart over something that's so trivial. Because then maybe what bothers you is that maybe you're not quite, or you're starting to doubt how good you are at making friends because you couldn't save this relationship even though you didn't really screw it up that bad. Are you worried about that at all? Yeah.
That's actually...
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing from you. Yeah, so we'll get to that in a second, okay? So it sounds to me like your confidence about you being good at making friends has been shaken by this experience.
Yeah, definitely. It has.
Yeah, so your peace of mind, if your confidence comes back, then I think your peace of mind will come back too. What do you think about that?
I think no, it was like a lot. It was like a lot of feeling. It was like a lot more than the confidence as well.
Okay.
Friends. It's like I feel I want my points because I had to write this down. So because I knew I'll be like a mess. I said like, I feeling bad about making new friends. The thing is, like, I'm still making new friends. It's like after the relationship fell apart, I am still making new friends and stuff like that, and trying to kind of like not really let it affect me in like future decisions of like making friendships and stuff like that. But I think it's just like while like talking with the friends back when I talked with the second friend, like a lot of things kind of like hurt, especially when I also went back to talk to the second friend. And then I thought like I could at least save the relationship with the third friend, but I think at that point I made like a lot of mistakes that even though for the third friend, it was like we're quote unquote still friends. She doesn't really respond that well to my messages, which
Okay,
makes me really
let's
confused.
yeah. So let's just take us. Let's go back to the beginning. Okay. So issue
Okay.
number one. So why did you ask the second friend about what friends 1 and 3 thought?
I didn't ask about number 3. I only asked about
Okay,
number 1
1.
because she
Why
was
did
the
you
one
ask
number 2.
why did you ask number 2 about number 1?
I asked number 2 about number 1 because I wanted like the confidence going in. It's like what exactly was wrong so I could fix the issue. When they
Right.
didn't tell me
So
that,
yeah, so
go.
I think so this is very common. People do that kind of thing, right? Where you want to do like
Mm-hmm.
reconnaissance. Like you want to
Yeah.
scout out what number 1's issue is so that you can enter the situation prepared so that you can fix it.
Yeah.
So I know this sounds kind of weird, but like I think the first mistake that you made is not talking to number 1. Right. And that even is at the very beginning in your first scenario. So, like, if you want to create healthy relationships and you think something is wrong in the relationship, the first thing that you should always do is just talk to the person. Right. And this is where I see this a lot where people like it's not quite manipulative, but it's sort of like you want to figure things out so that you can get the relationship to where you want the relationship. But the issue there, Kishi, is that it's not your choice where the relationship goes. You only get to control 50% of where the relationship goes. And this is sort of like, you know, if you kind of think about it, like, why are you asking number 2 about what number 1 thinks? Like, you should just go talk to number 1 about it. Now, that can be really, like, it can be scary because then you can't control the situation. Because if number 1 says something that's hurtful and you're not prepared for it, that can be hard for you. But what I would really recommend is like if number 1 left your server and then you saw that they were in a different server and then you went and like followed them there, you know, maybe like what you need to do at that point is ask number 1, hey, you said you didn't want to play games. I saw you playing games, so I thought it was cool if I joined you. I'm recognizing now that like, you know, maybe I did something that was out of you know, that you didn't appreciate. Can you help me understand like what happened? And
yeah,
just talk
I
to the
definitely regret that point as well. I think at that point I was a little bit too upset. Upset at that time. And I think ego got into my way of like doing that first and then just got into
so
the other friends.
sure. So I think the number 1 thing, Kishi, that I would say you should do is talk to the people who you are concerned about. Talk directly to them and openly with them. Because this is where you were like, you thought that number 1's reason was petty. And that's something like just because you don't see a good reason doesn't mean there isn't a good reason. And so
Yeah,
like
that's why
right? So,
after you can continue.
yeah, so I think this is where like what I think you need to learn is conflict resolution with individuals. And I'm not surprised that you're good at making friends, but I think that like you've got to be a little bit careful about, you know, maintaining those friendships. And the growth point here is I think going to be like conflict resolution with people that you're already friends with. Because you seem like a charismatic, likable, friendly person who genuinely cares about your friends. And what you probably need to work on is like if you have some kind of problem, don't go talk to a third person about it. Just talk directly to the person, which can be hard because they may say things that you may not want to hear.
Yeah, that's what one of my friends I chatted with told me as well, how I should go directly to the person instead. The thing is, though, I think for the story, it's better if I like tell like the whole story of like not the whole, but like because there was more that happened within.
So before you go into the whole story, help me understand
Okay.
what do you want to convey by telling the whole story?
I don't really want. I just want to figure out how to exactly not feel as bad because I don't know. This is the first time I've ever had like a rock in my path in terms of like feelings and stuff like that because I feel pretty much absolutely shitty about myself after it all happened and I kind of just want to figure out
What
how I could stop getting in the cycle.
Yeah, so but what is the cycle of feeling good and then feeling bad again?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah, so why don't you tell me how you feel shitty about yourself? What does that work like? What do you think
It's
about yourself? How do you
It's
feel?
actually like a lot of like what you said is like maybe I shouldn't have taken the month, maybe I should have went directly to them. Maybe some of the stuff I said I probably shouldn't have said. And I think like one thing that resonated with me like from a previous stream was when you told me how not me, but like the person how when you tell the truth, there's like a way of telling the truth in a way where it doesn't hurt them. Because I think in the past I always thought like if I told the truth, like if the truth is just out there, it's so much easier to resolve because everything's just
Sure.
out there. And in return, it's like now I think back on it, it's like maybe I shouldn't have been as truthful as I was
So
until
this
it's like
is
maybe
where
later when I've heard it.
Kishi, oddly enough, I don't know that more details are going to really help that much. It can definitely feel good to
Mm-hmm.
talk about them. And I definitely think you should have someone that you can lay this all out to. What I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
share with you is now we kind of get to the second part, which is like, how do you stop feeling this way? And I think this is where you try to take the right actions and you also acknowledge that this is a situation that you may not be able to fix. Right? So this is where like you
Yeah,
feel sad. Yeah, go ahead.
I definitely like after that, I definitely go on. Like I don't tend to if I have conflict, I actually do now tend to like just directly resolve it
Good.
and stuff like that. That's like stuff I've figured out because I don't think I regret it in terms that like it ended and stuff like that because I did learn a lot about it because like I reflected a lot about the friendship and like what happened during the whole thing.
Yeah, so what I would do is like if you want to let go of the sadness, okay? So I'm going to teach you kind of a principle here, which is
Mm-hmm.
like you do everything that you can and then you acknowledge that it's not yours to control. And so the cool thing is
Mm-hmm.
that like when you do everything that you can, like you can kind of sleep at night. And I think about
Mm-hmm.
like sort of medicine where, you can have a lot of regrets when you're, working in a hospital and taking care of sick people about did you make a mistake? Could I have done better? Should I have done this? And at the end of the day, like the
Mm-hmm.
only way you can sleep at night is if you can be confident in yourself that you did what you could. And so what I would recommend to you is that like if you're feeling sad, you send a message to the first person and you say something
Mm-hmm.
along the lines of, "Hey, I've been thinking a lot about our relationship. I valued our relationship a lot, and I recognize that I may have made some mistakes. Do you have some
Mm-hmm.
time to talk about it? Because I'd really love to hear your perspective on what happened." And then
That's
yeah,
oh no, I was gonna say like what happened with that after I confronted them. I asked them like, oh, what did I do wrong? And she got upset at me saying like you should know what you did wrong, kind of like that. And like I did try to
yeah,
apologize, though I
yeah,
probably do admit
yeah.
that
So
it probably did sound a little bit monotone to them, which is probably why they got more upset and more upset as the conversation went on. So I tried to
yeah,
offer like apologizing.
yeah.
I
So
thought it
so
would have been
that's also where like so now I'm going to say one last thing, Kishi, which is that
okay.
you can't fix you can't fix a relationship on your own. It takes two to fix a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where
Mm-hmm.
like I think you should be like I mean I would encourage you to try to sleep at night and essentially like you did what you could, and if someone in a relationship says you should know, you should be able to read my
Mm-hmm.
mind, and I'm not going to communicate with you in a healthy manner. I'm just going to expect you to know what you did wrong. Like that's not a relationship that you can fix.
I think that's like what I got upset about like the most I think was because throughout the conversation with her, I think I was expected to know stuff. And I tried to, at first, I
Yeah.
even like offered gently, it's like,
So-
if you want, you could block me or like soft block me or something. And I think she got more upset by that, in where she said how she
Okay.
thought I was like avoiding the problem, which I think back about now. And she
So yeah,
although I
Kishi,
didn't
so
mean it that way, I
what
think.
I'm hearing from you, and I think this is the kind of thing where, you know, definitely sounds like there are a lot of details here. I don't know that we have time to go into all those details.
Yeah.
But what I'm
Yeah.
hearing from you is that you basically did what you could. And it can be hard because you're relatively young, and like sometimes like you've got to learn the lesson that you can't save every relationship. Right. And this is like, this sounds to me like you really went above and beyond to try to fix it. It sounds like you have a lot of friends. You're pretty good at relationships. And, you know, there are some randos on the internet that are just not good at relationships, and there's nothing you can do to fix that. Like, it takes two. And what I'm really hearing from you is that you did your part. And so, you know,
I think
mean,
they
they've gotta
were
do
like
theirs.
a really good friend though, because I back before it happened, I knew them for three or more years online and stuff like that. They were honestly, I think what I think about now was I was really surprised when she got that angry at me, because I didn't really know her as that kind of person, kind of
Sure,
thing. So I
so-
think like I struggled with that for a long while until I realized that maybe it was just I knew her as like a person, but I just didn't know her like when she's angry or like afterwards, because like I think now I understand like people react with anger differently.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that maybe there needs to be a little bit of grieving, right? That this relationship mattered a lot to you. And, you know, and then the other thing is, do you have, Kishi, do you have someone that you can talk through all these details with? Do you have someone that you can talk through this stuff with?
The thing is that I do. I talk about it a lot with them, and I think that's why
No,
like
I'm not
I
talking-
end up coming.
Not with them. I mean, like, is there someone else that you can process
No,
this?
a friend. Yeah, a friend. That's what I mean. Like a different friend. Like I talked about with them for like periods of months and months, but like I still can't really get over it. Like I talk about it often, and not only to them. It's like I talked about it before to other friends and people to try to kind of like process it. I think that's why I'm here, is because I can't seem to, no matter how much I really talk about it, because it's like sometimes I do feel good because I know I definitely try my best, because I really did try my best at the time. So sometimes I do feel good, and that's like a period of cycle where it's like I feel good, but then I feel bad again, and it's almost I feel frustrated because it almost is like sometimes like I should feel bad because like I did that and that, and it's like it almost feels like chasing after pain, and yeah, it just feels really
Yes.
really bad because I can't
So-
resolve no matter how much I talk about it.
Yeah, Kishi, so I'm noticing a couple of things. One is that I wonder if you really need to talk a lot, because I'm noticing today that you're talking a lot. Unfortunately, we're going to have to move
Yeah.
on to our next caller.
Yeah, please.
But
please.
I think that, you know, this is the kind of thing where I would just really try to find someone who can really sit and listen to you, which sometimes friends can't do. Right. So like friends may get it's kind of like it's a two-way relationship, and sometimes it can be hard for a friend to just listen to you over and over and over again. But this is where, you know, trying to find someone who's sort of dedicated to listening to you can be really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you still have a lot to say and a lot to think through.
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck to you, Kishi. I'm sorry I wasn't able to kind of give you a simple answer that sort of fixed this for you.
No. Of course, I didn't expect an answer. I feel like this is something I have to solve myself. But like, thank you so much, Dr. K.
Thanks a lot for coming on, Kishi.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey.
Ready?
Yep.
Or all right, cool. Bring him in. Bring him in. Hello.
Hi.
What's up? What's up, bro?
Breaking or Anthony, whatever you'd like.
We use Discord tags here, bro.
Oh,
Breaking it
Discord
is.
tag. Breaking. All right. So essentially, I'm in a tough situation where, like, I don't know where to find people dating wise that have good mental health and know how to deal with their mental health problems in a healthy manner.
Okay. Can you say? Sorry, we just got a raid. So for the people who are joining us. Breaking, do you mind if I do a quick intro for the,
Yeah, absolutely.
4,000 people who just joined? So, hey guys, welcome to the Healthy Gamer GG channel. I'm Dr. Alo Kanoja. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in Boston, Massachusetts. Here at Healthy Gamer, we're devoted to sort of understanding ourselves better. We use a variety of different, or I use a lot of, background from a few years of training as a monk to training, psychiatric training to try to help people understand themselves a little bit better. A quick reminder that everything we talk about on stream is really for education and understanding, and nothing is intended to be taken as medical advice. So with that, it sounds like we have a question from Breaking about relationships and how to find healthy people to have relationships with.
Yes.
Yeah, so can you share a little bit more?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, do you want to reiterate what I said before the raid
Please.
happened? Okay. So, essentially, I'm in a tough situation where I can't really find people, like dating-wise, who have good mental health and know how to deal with their mental health problems in a healthy manner.
Can you give me an example?
Um, so generally, people can think logically until the situation becomes uncomfortable or stressful. And essentially, I'm trying to find people who are comfortable with being uncomfortable, essentially.
Can
Like
you give me
people
an
who,
example of someone that you dated that wasn't able to deal with things logically?
yeah, absolutely. So just a couple weeks ago, I ended up, my girlfriend ended up breaking up with me, or ex at the time. So essentially, uh, at one of like the drop offs, so my mom would drive halfway, and her mom would drive the other halfway. So her stepdad drove this time, and we all got to the meeting point. We got out of the car, and I think it's like 3 to 5 degrees outside. It's freezing cold, and essentially the stepdad pretty much bulldozes my mom in conversation, doesn't let her talk at all. Essentially makes a bunch of preconceived notions about like our relationship and how like women essentially how women essentially change every year. Just miraculously they turn into different people. And a bunch of just like very weird things to say right when you're meeting somebody for the first time. And just like a lot of bad signs. Forgot my name twice. Just a
What
lot
does
of
this
weird
have to
things.
what does this have to do
So
with y'all breaking up?
this is where I'm going to lead into it. So essentially, I asked her, "Hey, did you find it odd that your stepdad did that?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, my mom isn't really comfortable with me being over your house, because that's just that's a reason possibly not to trust somebody, and that's not really like a good there's no point for me to essentially spend the night over her house, and that's what her mom had a problem with. So her mom wanted me to spend the night over at her house, and my mom wasn't very comfortable with that. And I'm like, well, if my mom can at least get just a basic apology, I think that would make her feel more comfortable. And essentially, she couldn't get that out of the stepdad. And with all the things she was dealing with, it ended up stressing her out so much to the point where she broke up with me.
Okay, and so
And then, okay.
yeah,
And
go ahead.
the next day she messaged me about like how it was like a huge mistake and how it was a big regret. And I'm like, I understand that, but like that was like a very like impulsive decision. That's like one of my deal breakers. That's one of my things that like I really can't like I need to be able to talk through situations and problems with my partner.
Sure. So Breaking, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
19, almost 20.
Okay, and how old was your girlfriend or ex-girlfriend?
18.
And what are the Okay. So you're saying you don't know where to find people that are like mentally stable to date.
Yes.
Okay. So why do you need to be dating someone?
I want to be like that's something that makes me happy. Like I'd like to be essentially it's like a friendship, but like it's also romantic and like I have these same standards for my close friends as well. So essentially it's like an upgraded friend in my mind.
And so what help me understand like where you're meeting people? Like how did you meet this girl?
I met her on a dating site.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like there are a couple things here breaking where I mean so I hate to break this to you bro, but like 18-year-olds men or women, are not like the most emotionally mature people on the planet.
Yeah.
Secondly, like 18-year-olds who have stepfathers who are like have weird views and stuff, like that's gonna have a like, you know, a negative impact on her mental, right? Like just imagine living with the guy.
Yeah, of course. I completely understand her situation.
Yeah, well, so I'm not so sure that you do, because I mean, I think like this is where, you know, you've got to really think a little bit about when you say this is a deal breaker for me. So generally speaking, in my experience, I mean, obviously there are deal breakers, but I think that like, you know, I can't tell you how many people, so I'm 38 now, and I can tell you that most of my friends who are still single are ones that have like really big deal breakers. And most of the people, like I had a deal breaker, which was like, I'd never date an Indian girl. I was like, that's a deal breaker. Like, I'm not going to date an Indian girl. And like, I broke my own deal breaker, which is why I'm married. And so I think like there are a lot of things that you've got to kind of think about. I mean, so nowadays it sounds like you're going to meet people on dating apps. So the first thing is I'd expect to some degree of emotional immaturity from the people that you date, because they're just going to be emotionally immature.
Yeah.
You're dating an 18-year-old, like, I don't know if there's a, you know, a commune of Zen, super chill 18-year-old women somewhere.
I know. I don't want to be like prejudiced about that, thinking that everybody at that age is like that, because I know that there's some people who aren't like that.
Sure. And I mean, if you ever find, you know, the secret server where they all hang out, please let the rest of us know. But I mean, I think this is where like you've got to understand that like if you're dating 18s, we're not saying that they're stupid or anything like that. It's just like there's a process of emotional maturity that develops along with your brain. And you know, I'd say that this is where like she made an impulsive decision, and you know, I think this is also where like if you want a successful relationship, like people are going to make mistakes. Like your partner is going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. And it's conflict resolution. It's not like finding the perfect person. And this is like a really common thing that I hear nowadays, where it's like, I need to find the right person. No, you need to become the right person. And a good relationship is not that you find the magical person. It's that you take two human beings who are like decent at life, and then through a process of like growth and reflection, they become the right person. And both people have to go through that transformation. And so I mean, you know, maybe you can continue dating around and stuff like that. And like, sure, certainly there are warning signs, and you're allowed to have whatever deal breakers you want to, which includes healthy conflict resolution, which is like reasonable. But I would just basically say, like, you know, try to be a little bit forgiving. And I think this is the sort of thing where if you find someone that you really, really like, and they don't have this, the question is, are they willing to work on it and grow? And then if you can be patient for them, then I think you'll be in kind of better shape. Because I don't think you're going to, it's going to be really hard to find someone who's like super emotionally mature, single, and like 18 or 19. It's just hard.
Is it all right if I keep that in like a friend area where, you know, we still talk and everything like that? Because essentially it puts them in a tough situation, because now I have this expectation that, you know, I want them to be at this point. And I think that's not good to put that much pressure onto somebody. And I don't know if it helps either.
I mean, so the other thing is you could also date like a 30-year-old woman.
I've heard that. You're the third person who said that. That's
I mean,
very
you can
true.
see what that's like.
My range goes all the way up to 26, like with all my dating apps. So it's not like I was cutting those people out.
Sure.
It's just more or less those are the people that
So breaking, this is what I want you to do. I have a task for you, my dude. I want you to date a 25-year-old or 26-year-old or 24-year-old, and then report back to us on how it went.
All right.
All right. Let's see how that goes. And I'd love to hear. Because I think like if you're expecting emotional maturity from an 18-year-old, like you know, I mean, I just don't know, dude.
It's tough.
I'm sorry if I feel like I don't have good answers for people nowadays. But
no, it's all right. No, it's fine. I mean, that was a perfect answer.
Yeah, just be careful about your expectations. I think you figured a lot of that out, and maybe give people like 3 strikes before they're out. You know, that can help. and
Yeah.
like try to pick the people who are willing. It's not here's the last thing that I'll say. So a lot of relationships are about finding the right person, right? But I think like the most important quality in a relationship is not the finished product. It's like, how willing is this person to grow and change? And if
Yeah.
they're willing to grow and change, like that's someone you can build a life with.
Of course. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to look for.
Yeah, and I mean, so I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
where to find those people.
I know. I feel like we
All
need to
right.
make a dating site.
Yeah, maybe not.
The $1
All
million
right, man.
idea.
Good luck to you, and keep us posted on when you date the MILF.
All right, I will. The MILF.
Okay.
All right. Have a nice day.
I just caught the tail end of that. I'm not gonna ask. Are you ready for the next person?
Yeah, we were. The dude had a crush on you, and so we were. I told him to go for
Okay.
it. Yeah, we're ready for the next person.
Thanks. Hello.
Hey.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey, hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm nervous. but
I'm
I
hearing
guess
an
it's part
echo
of
of
it.
my own voice.
Oh,
Yeah, if you
I
just
don't
do
know how to
push to
solve
talk,
that. Let me see if I can do that.
that's weird. I didn't hear my voice in the other one.
Um,
It's the user settings in the bottom and voice and video. And it's just like in the middle, it has a little input mode. Oh
Hello?
wait, is stream open?
yeah,
Hello?
but hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, the stream is open, but it's muted.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Okay, so yeah, this is a weird question. But anyway, I'll go for it. So how can a loner or someone live through life without a support system? Because I really don't want a support system. Because like what I see is a lot of people that they want friends, but I just want to be left alone, really. Like I do everything on my own. I grew up, basically living as a only child, even though I have two older siblings. And yeah, just isolating myself feels familiar. And yeah, I don't know if that's normal or I don't know. I don't know exactly what to expect from this question. But yeah.
Beautiful question. I'm so glad you. Oh, looks like we're still not on push to talk.
Yeah, you may just want to mute erosion.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Testing 1 2 3. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'd start by just asking you: are you unhappy with your current situation?
No. Well, yes and no. Depends. On a good day, I can accept things for the way they are. You know, for what it is. But on a bad day, I get really emotionally lonely, and I'm like, maybe I should let people in my life and have friends. But I don't know. I just feel better on my own. Growing up, I become very obsessed with being self-sufficient and under control. So maybe that's part of it.
Can you tell me a little bit about being obsessed with being in control and self-sufficient? Why that's important to you?
I basically feel like people are not reliable, and yeah, I don't really trust people. I think that the experience that I've had with people is really fucked up.
Can you
so yes.
share a little bit about that?
Well, I guess it starts with my parents. Dad was never there emotionally. Mom was very manipulative and made up lies, and really focused on making me and my sisters be against each other all the time. And then, well, I never really had friends, needless to say. I don't know what's it like to have a best friend. Um, and yeah, I don't really know how to live with other people. Really, I don't know if that helps or gives you any context.
It gives me a lot of
Or if-
context and helps a lot.
Or if you want to ask more questions, I don't know how these things work really.
So, why don't we just? So I think, and what do you go by? What should I call you?
Abby is fine.
Abby. So Abby, here's what I'm hearing. Okay, so I know that we've got a little bit of an echo and muting and whatnot. So I'm going to try to speak at longer lengths and then ask you questions and listen instead of like quite as much back and forth. But so here's what I'm hearing: you kind of grew up in a household where you were taught to distrust people, and that like the closer you, like, you know, your closest relationships, which should be the foundation, like your foundational and important loving relationships, were actually like super, super damaging and toxic. And so if we think about like what happens to a person who, you know, whose parents are like manipulative and cause them to fight with their siblings, like that's very scary and it sounds very dangerous to me. So what I'm hearing from you is that like you've grown up being taught that like close relationships are dangerous and that they hurt you. And now you're kind of in this situation where, you know, so early on you had to learn how to be like self-sufficient and survive without relationships. And so your question to me is like, can you do that? Can that work? Like, how do you survive and how do you thrive without a support system? And what I'm hearing from you is that you actually want a support system because you say on some days you're able to accept your loneliness, but I'm not hearing that you're happy about it. I'm not hearing that you want to be lonely. What I'm hearing is that like you actually want to connect with other human beings and that the challenge is that you don't know how and you're afraid to because it's going to hurt if you do because people are fundamentally untrustworthy. What do you think about that?
Pretty much it. Exactly it. Yeah, it's just that. Yeah. My mom, especially with men, she was very like growing up. Even I remember like the first conversations. I was like 4 or 5. Well, maybe a little bit older, but around that age, my mom was like, "Oh, men look at you funny. Men look at you this way." I'm like now looking back, I'm like I was 5. Like I didn't need to think about um, you know, that type of things. And now that I'm older, even though a lot of people in my family say that I don't have empathy, I don't know if what I have is empathy or just a weird type of empathy because it's just I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Um, I see a lot of men struggling with a lot of issues, and I don't really see the thing like men versus women. I really don't. And my mom was very like men are evil, and so is my sister. Is like men are evil, and I'm not like that at all. I see, especially with this community, I see a lot of men struggling with a lot of things, and it's just I don't know. It's one of the things. One example. You know, there's more.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever.
So here's what I'd say, Abby, like just in a way to move forward from here. So the first thing that I want you to understand is that like you were given like a rule book to the game of life, which is not actually like accurate, right? You were sort of given like if you open your options, I'm assuming you're a gamer for a second, but if you open your options and you look at like your keyboard controls, like you're playing a different game. It's like you're trying to play, you know, so you've just got to understand that what you're really going to have to do is a lot of relearning or unlearning. And what I encourage you to do is like start to like develop your own playbook for life because you figured out that you can't trust the playbook of your mom and your sisters, that men are evil. And it makes me like just so happy because, you know, I think there are a lot of And there are a lot of evil women too. But I think that especially there are a lot of toxic behaviors that we see online that come out in men. And I'm really thrilled that you've been able to find like our community to be like the opposite of that. And that's exactly what we set out to build. So if you are part of the Healthy Gamer community, you guys need to give yourself a pat on the back, because I want you guys to appreciate that Abby was indoctrinated by something, and it's the behavior of the people in this community that's causing her to question that indoctrination, which is awesome. Second thing, Abby, is, so you were given this playbook that may not really fit. So I think the really challenging thing here is that it's going to require a lot of effort and a lot of courage and a lot of patience on your part to get to where you want to go. But I don't think you should settle for like surviving alone, because I don't think that's, that doesn't sound to me. I mean, there are people who can survive on their own. Like there are monks that are sitting in caves in the Himalayas and don't talk to anyone. I mean, they're quite content and quite happy, but that's not what I'm hearing from you. What I'm hearing from you is someone who was sort of emotionally scarred growing up and like needs to learn how to re-engage with people. And so almost what I'm envisioning is I'm reminded of like working in on the neurological ICU floor, where there are people who've been in motor vehicle accidents and have strokes and stuff, and they have to learn how to walk again. And they have to like learn how to do these things that most human beings take for granted. And it's like incredibly powerful, but like it's amazing and triumphant to watch, but it absolutely sucks for them. It's like one of the hardest things in the world. And so what I want you to really think about and appreciate is that I think you essentially need to learn how to connect with human beings all over again at the age that you're at right now. And it's absolutely possible. It just requires patience and effort, and it sucks. Like, I'm not going to say otherwise. And very practically, what I'd say is like you can do 2 or 3 things. One is you should definitely consider seeing like a therapist. This is definitely a situation where you can give coaching a shot if you want to. And maybe the coaches can probably help you, don't get me wrong, but this is definitely a situation where I would consider, if you haven't already, at least getting evaluated by a therapist. Because it sounds to me like you had quite a traumatic upbringing. And this definitely sounds to me like you warrant like, working with a professional to help you kind of rewire and understand what's going on. Second thing you should do is I think you should engage in light, careful relationships as best as you can, and give yourself the opportunity to like level up your empathy and level up your relationship skill. And recognize that as you do this, something weird is going to happen, because as you progress in a relationship, all of these echoes and like other things that you were taught are going to start to pop up and sabotage your relationship. Like you're going to want to do things, like you're going to want to like cancel on them or not show up, or like you're going to want to like delete them from your phone and never see them again. There are going to be weird feelings that arise that are going to really push you to like act strange in the relationship or terminate the relationship. You need to be really, really careful about those. And this is where the more that you can learn to tolerate and essentially accept but not give in to those weird feelings, the healthier your relationships are going to become. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, that makes sense. One thing that I should probably said is I over the years I've managed to I guess make those more shallow not friendships, relationships. So I've been living on my own for almost 10 years now. I have a full-time job. I've managed to, have or make friends, sort of. I don't want to use that word, but whatever. Friends with colleagues, co-workers. So I've managed to work that part out. Because it wasn't like I was completely alienated socially for years. And when I moved out, because I always wanted to move out, right? Wanted to get rid of all that small town bullshit. So I got out and I managed to, do my life. And I have a boyfriend who I love very much, but I still somehow feel emotionally lonely. Like I don't think I have a reason to feel depressed, but I still do.
Yeah.
And I don't think friends will help. Therapy, I kind of had a weird experience with therapy, but it is what it is. I think I didn't give the therapist enough opportunity. Yeah, so it's just I look at my life, like I have no reason to feel depressed, but I still do.
Okay, so Zach, we need to jot Abby down for one of our super secret projects. You know which one I'm talking about? You around?
Maybe.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
you can circle back to me if you don't know, but she says that she shouldn't feel depressed, but she does. There's nothing wrong with her life, but she still is not content, right? So we've got to jot her down for the beta for one of our programs. So Abby, here's what I'd say. I think it makes perfect sense. I'm glad you shared all that information. So I think you've learned on the surface how to look like you're living a normal life. Like you've got a boyfriend who you love very much, you have friends, you have a job, you're doing everything right, but something is missing. So I think what you've really got to work on is like, why can't you, like, what gets in the way of you connecting? Because I would imagine that your boyfriend or these people, like, you don't even use the word friend, right? You're like, they look like friends, they talk like friends, they act like friends, they text me like friends, but they're not actually friends. So if we
They're
think
more
about
acquaintances.
yeah, right. So what's the difference between a friend and an acquaintance? It's actually probably like connection and vulnerability. So I think what I'm hearing from you, if I had to bet money, what I would say is that you're very on guard around your acquaintances. And you have a lot of difficulty connecting with people. What do you think?
Yep, that's exactly it. That's the thing. I've thought about this for so long. Like I know the backstory. I know where it comes from. I know everything. Well, at least I think I know everything, right? But there's still something. I still don't know why I feel the way I feel, and I don't know. Should I get a dog, a goldfish? Like what the hell will help?
No. This has nothing to do with your actions on the outside. Getting a dog is not going to, well, maybe actually getting a dog could help, but it all has to do with like what's on the inside, right? So it's like there are going to be moments in your life, and we can even use this one, Abby. Is there something that you want to tell us or tell me that you're not telling me? Because it's a bad idea to share.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I guess I'm way too nervous to think clearly, but
Sure.
I'm pretty sure there is a lot of examples and a lot of context that I could give you.
You sound pretty open and authentic to me right now.
Oh, thanks.
But what I would bet money is that when it comes to your boyfriend, for example, there are going to be things that you want to tell him, but there's a part of your mind that's telling you that's a bad idea. It could hurt to tell him. And same thing with your friends. And I think what you've got to do is like start saying those things. And the problem is like, it's about trust and vulnerability, because like they could hurt you if you tell them that. And so if you want to connect with people, it's sort of like, you have to be vulnerable. And like, that's how you learn how to trust. Like, you're never going to trust anyone. It doesn't sound to me like you trust anyone, Abby, because you've never given them an opportunity to take advantage of you. And trust comes when you give someone the opportunity to take advantage of you and they don't. But until you do that, like, you're never going to trust anyone. Right? Because how can you? It's sort of like, you're not going to be able to. So it's going to be challenging, but I encourage you to really explore what keeps you from being vulnerable around other people, because it's vulnerability that allows for connection. And I'd give therapy a second shot. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, my bad. I didn't realize I was unmuted. Oh, bye. Ready for the next one?
Yep.
All right. Hello.
Hey.
Sorry, I was muted there for a second. Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Hi, chat. I guess, should I just get it right into my question?
Yeah,
if
just
that's
tell
okay
me
with
what
you?
you go by so I know how to address you.
Yeah. For this conversation, let's use either Zuma or Lisa, whatever you're more comfortable with.
Zuma sounds great.
Okay. Sounds good. So to kind of get into my question, it's kind of in the larger sense dealing with immovable situations or just really tough situations that perhaps people find a little bit less agency in. So for some context, I'm a fairly self-sufficient person. I kind of grew up working. I kind of lack a real safety net in terms of like I'm a little bit older. My parents aren't really they don't own a house or anything like that. And so a few months ago, my dad had some really serious health issues kind of arise. He was really neglectful. He's just kind of a generation and of a personality type that's quite difficult, particularly when it comes to aging. And so he eventually did end up going to the hospital. He spent about a month in there, and he was difficult in the hospital. A code white had to be called on him, and he was kind of making death threats to everyone. He was just kind of just one of those, aging parents. And, some of us deal with them sometimes. And I'm an only child, and my mom is not in the picture, and he has become very estranged to a lot of his siblings. And so I've been kind of isolated in my care. So currently, right now, he is living with me. He was not able to keep down housing. And, I just kind of feel very stuck in terms of, now I thought he was going to die. I just genuinely thought he was going to die for a moment there. And I had a whole grieving process. And now it's kind of like I'm at this point where he is aging and I'm going to be caring for him indefinitely. And it's a difficult situation to be in emotionally. Not only that, but I juggle being, what I consider kind of a workaholic. I get a lot of energy from working, and I've been in a lot of leadership roles in the past year or so. And I've had to take a step back from those things. And even though those things are difficult, they're sort of rewarding and exhausting in a very good way that I'm very used to. And so I guess my question is, my financial stability is kind of at stake here. I work, I do school, I have these projects, and now I'm also a primary caregiver. And I feel very stuck because this feels indefinite, and I'm a very solutions-based person, if that makes sense.
Sure. Wow, Zuma. So first of all, you sound amazingly capable.
It's kind of one of my vices in that people like I have been through a lot, and I've landed on my feet quite a few times, and people get that sense from me. And so a lot of my aunts and uncles, and even his doctors and social workers are kind of like, she seems fine. Like let's just leave her to do that all by herself, because it's kind of confidence inspiring, but I still have to do the work at the end of the day.
How does it feel to be a badass?
It's a bit heavy. Not
Certainly.
gonna lie. Yeah.
That's what they don't. So this is the challenge, right? Is everyone wants to be a badass, but then like you talk to one and it's like it ain't easy.
It.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that I'm. Being a badass is not like a one-person job. I have an amazing support system, and I have amazing friends, and they carry me every single day, and I would be lost without them for sure.
Okay. I think being a badass is more of a one-person job. As much as you're humble and grateful, what I'm hearing from you is that you're carrying a lot on your own.
Yeah.
And, I know it's weird, but like, I think you gotta say that, right? It's one thing. I'm not saying that, it's interesting because we do this really funny thing where we like take gratitude and positivity and use it to wipe away our burdens. Like, it's sort of like, oh man, like I have such a great support system. My parents passed away in an accident and I'm so grateful for everything. And it's like, wait a second, your parents passed away. That sucks. It's one thing to be grateful for your support system. And it's like really important to acknowledge what I'm hearing from you is that like you're hanging on by a thread. Like, I'm hearing a sense of you can manage, but only for so long, and that this is going to come crumbling down around you at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been in this position or similar positions for many years and over again. And I want to be selfish, and I kind of want to just say, fuck it all, and just kind of give up and leave things to kind of crash and burn. But I know myself, and I know that I'm the type of person that will still kind of do it begrudgingly in terms of caretaking and everything. And I think that that's kind of put me in a weird position for sure.
Yeah. So how does it feel to have a part of you that wants to let everything crash and burn and know that you never will?
It's really hard.
What's hard about it?
It makes me feel like I have no agency.
Right? So like you're a victim of your goodness. Zuma's going to put everyone else first, and damn it, I don't want to put everyone else first, but I can't help myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same in my leadership roles. Like, I'm very over-functioning, and I give everyone a lot of slack, and I, kind of am just that person.
Yep. So now it's time to grow a little bit. Okay, Zuma? So like this is where like your road forward is going to be like on one end of the spectrum, there's Zuma who sacrifices everything, picks up the slack, is a leader, and takes care of her dad, who like you take care of your dad so much because he's not willing to take care of himself. That's the other thing that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And so what you do, and this is really dangerous, so you've got to be careful if you're a saint. Because what saints do is you're going to accrue like barnacles. You're going to like start to like suck towards you all of the people who do less than their full share.
Yep. That sounds familiar.
And then you're going to be like, what I'm hearing is like you're carrying all these shitties through the swamp. And then like now you've got all these leeches and they're just sucking you dry, but you're not going to put them down.
Are you saying I have to euthanize some people?
No, you don't have to euthanize anyone. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to figure out is like where you are, right? So this is where like you have to learn balance, Zuma.
Yeah.
So you have to learn balance, right? You have to learn limit setting. You have to learn that like to be a good person, you don't have to do someone else's fair share of the work. That you can be noble and caring and take care of your dad without enabling him. Right? That like what you've got to be really careful about being responsible and like also letting other people hold responsibility. And this is where you've got to let some things slide. I don't know practically what this looks like, but it could be some things like, there are some people who, it's hard. Let me just think about. Yeah, it's like hard, but there's like just a lot of limit setting that has to be done. It can be hard if your dad is like medically ill, but I imagine he's on medication. Like, does he take his own medication, or do you have to force him to take it?
I administer it to him.
And so is he okay with that? Are you guys both okay with that?
He's been pretty good, but he's had complications with other sort of aspects of his health. Like, for instance, he's really bad at managing his Foley, and as a result, he's kind of developed a bit of a UTI, and he's a very independent and stubborn person, and so when he feels like he has control, he kind of takes it 100% of the way.
Yeah, so this is where like there's a lot here, and one is like caregiver burnout is very real, and this is the kind of thing where like you need a really strong support system that is dedicated to you to get you through this. So that's at the top of the list. The second thing is I would be really careful about what kind of like think about what the long-term, when you plant a seed every single day, what is the long-term fruit that you're going to harvest from it? And this is where you talk about your leadership roles and stuff like that, but you also talk about financial insecurity. So I'm not quite sure how that works, but this is where like be a little bit careful about, letting other people take advantage of your work ethic and start to set some boundaries, because, when you're talking about letting everything fall apart and crash and burn and you're not setting any boundaries, like these are the two ends of the spectrum, and what you really need to do is be in the middle. So try to find whatever small thing that you can to carve out for yourself, whether it's at work or whatever, and hold other people responsible, because the more, there's a great quote from Jordan Peterson, which I know he's a divisive figure for a lot of people, but I think the guy sometimes knows what he's talking about. And he says the worst thing that you can do for a child is anything that they can do for themselves. And I think that's like something that I would really think about long and hard when it comes to the life that you're living. Because I think when you do things for other people that they can do for themselves, you're teaching them to not do it, and you're putting that burden on yourself. And it sounds like you're trying to get through life, and you're trying to support someone who you love and care about a lot, and who has real challenging medical issues. And like, sometimes older people just can't manage Foley's properly. Like that's just, some things that he's not going to be able to do. If he can't manage his Foley and take his meds, like you've got to do that for him. Totally awesome. But I think there's like some stuff in the middle there that you can start to carve out for yourself. And you really need to.
Absolutely. If I could sort of ask a bit of a follow-up, if that's okay with you. Yeah, so to answer your question of why I'm having such financial difficulties despite being in leadership roles, the answer is academia. Because everything in academia is kind of dependent on being underpaid. And, I think one of my real difficulties here is that I'm putting in this work to take care of my dad, but in turn, I feel like I'm sacrificing essentially what our career goals. Like I barely make enough money to support myself through this sort of endeavor into graduate school and research. And to be honest, the selfish thing is to kind of pursue that fully. But things like research assistantships or doing some unpaid work, I feel like I'm kind of falling behind a little bit on the rat race, so to speak. And
yeah, Zuma, I mean, so it sounds like you're in school.
Yeah, I'm sort of at the tail end of what has been a very long undergraduate degree.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that this is the kind of thing where like just keep taking steps forward. Be like, I know that academia, so the whole goal of academia, you can stay in academia forever if you want to, but the advantage of academia is that like, I don't think this is fair or good, but it is, people are chronically underpaid, but like the advantage of that is that someone out there will probably overpay you relative to academia for the things that you accrue there. So academia, if you're talking about financial success, like even like the goal is that this expertise should translate into financial security at some point.
Right. Okay, that sounds perfect.
So I think it's like learn how to set some boundaries, be a little bit careful about finding, like I would try to find a good mentor who can really help you parse out because the rat race is a real problem in academia. This is going to be a quick tangent, but there are a lot of people in academia who think that doing something is really important to get ahead in academia. But a lot of people just do useless crap in academia that no one cares about. And it's just sort of like, like, okay, whatever. But there are some things that are actually important and translatable. And like, those are the things that you should really focus on. And you usually need someone's guidance to figure out what that is. And this is where I just be really, really judicious and jealous of your time because you have so little of it, and stop doing crap for other people. Like, you should be a leader not because you carry the shitties. You should be a leader because of the strength of your own work.
Right. Absolutely. Those are great words. And I think that it's really important now to be very scrutinous with how I spend my time and make the most of it.
Yeah. So like, I wouldn't be supporting anyone else because I don't know what that gets you. Like in terms of academia, let them do their work. And it sounds like you're a good daughter and you take care of your dad. So I think you got to do that. But like, try to explain to your dad and help him understand that like you're trying to live your life, and that the more he does for himself, the better it is for you.
For sure.
Good luck, Zuma. Damn.
Thanks. I'll need it for sure. Let's hope that this advice can help make my caregiving more sustainable down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I would also look at like, caregiver support groups more explicitly. Or,
Mhm.
this is the kind of thing. I mean, it sounds like you're quite medically knowledgeable because you talked about a code white and you know what a Foley is. I don't know if that's just because you're a quick study or if you actually like have, background in medicine in some way. But this is the kind of thing where, I'm not hearing anything like clinical here. I don't know if you've been evaluated for things like that, but I would really lean on, there may be like medical support systems that you can lean on in terms of caregiver support groups. Or you could also, like, coaching could be a good fit for you, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Like-
absolutely. And I still deal with a lot of my own personal mental health issues that have kind of gone unsaid. So I think something like that would be really helpful.
Yeah, so I mean, if you've got personal mental health issues, then definitely go see a therapist. And like in terms of, setting boundaries, carving out space for yourself, taking care of yourself, that it's some of this nebulous stuff that isn't quite clinical, which is why we have the coaching program to begin with. And it sounds like you really, need to let your burden down somewhere. And if you can't do that with your friends, it sounds like you have a support system that's really good. So I'm happy to hear that. But sometimes, caregiver burnout, like if there's a hospital system that your dad gets medical care through, you can really pursue something like that too.
Yeah, I've tried going through the social worker at my hospital, but unfortunately, with COVID and where I'm at, everything seems to be kind of over capacity, so I haven't pushed it too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of my support system, they're fantastic. But most of my friends are a little bit young relative to myself and are kind of unfamiliar with these sort of situations, and so talking with somebody else could be really helpful.
Yeah. So good luck to you, Zuma.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. K. And thank you, chat. Thank you, everyone. Hope you're having a good day.
Take care.
Bye.
This is brilliant. Tiny Moof is asking, seriously, Dr. K, can we hook her up with that guy who is looking for emotionally mature women? It's too funny. Too funny. All right. Something tells me that that would not be a successful relationship. But great idea. It's the kind of creativity we're looking for.
I'm dragging the next one in.
Okay. Let's do like two more.
Yep, there's two left, so.
Beautiful.
Hello.
Yo.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Pretty well. How are you?
Good.
Sorry. Yeah, but
I'm really enjoying connecting with the community today, so I'm feeling the hype.
well, I guess I'll hop right in. You can call me Hemp Hippo or Hippo for this.
Hippo it is.
So my worldview is, kind of around being empathetic, kind, and kind of respecting everybody's humanity. And I've been really struggling lately with kind of existing in a world that seems to reward people for being the antithesis of that. And then that kind of leads into a second part of when I see, Rush Limbaugh die or, the Capitol rioters get thrown in prison or, even an anti-masker get COVID. My knee-jerk reaction is kind of like, haha, good. But I don't want to be that person, especially if I'm trying to, be empathetic and kind. I don't necessarily want to extend my empathy to them, but I also don't want to revel in their pain.
Okay. So, a Hippo,
So
tell
I guess
me... Yeah, go ahead.
my question is really just like how to resist that feeling of, kind of those like fuzzy feelings you get when you see somebody get like their just desserts.
Let me think about this for a second. It's a good question. Tell me a little bit about you said something about like existing in a world where evil people are rewarded.
Yeah, I would say so I've kind of been struggling with, I guess, what I think to be dysmia or persistent or dysysmia and persistent depressive disorder for many, many years. And I think that's a lot to do with it, of just, the world seems to reward selfish people. And that's very disappointing to me.
Do you feel like the world has? Do you feel like you're a good person?
I like to think I am a good person.
Do you
I
feel like the world has screwed you because of it?
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
How so?
Uh, just my kindness has been taken advantage of plenty of times, or not being. I feel like I often get run over for, I guess, not being outspoken about my beliefs, or even people bullying me would get popular because of it, or yeah, people would be popular because of bullying, not necessarily me specifically.
Can you give us an example of like how you were taken advantage of because of your kindness?
Uh, I guess it might not even be kindness, but non-confrontationalness. Like, I am a musician, and in my band, a lot of times, I guess I'll put my feelings aside about like a decision, just to avoid the confrontation. I guess a lot of times in my head, it's like, what, I'll let them think whatever they want to think, and then eventually they'll just come around to my way of thinking when I'm proven to be right.
So justice will happen in the end.
Yeah, essentially.
What I'm hearing is that you've got a pretty big justice boner.
Uh, sure. Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. So Hippo, here's my take. Okay, so the first thing is that I think that like when you look at the world and you feel like you want to revel in Rush Limbaugh's passing, I think that comes from like your own personal experience of injustice. Right? It's like the way in which you look at the world and how like evil people are rewarded, and like evil people were rewarded by taking advantage of you. And that's sort of like why you care about it in the world. And the reason that you revel in it is because like what you really wanted is those bullies to get, justice served to them. And so when there are people that you perceive as evil who get like justice served to them, it sort of like feels really good to you because that's sort of like what you always wanted, right? Does that make sense? Like, do you see how your personal experiences and the things that you choose to care about in the world could be related?
Yeah, it's, I guess, what I struggle with is like, yeah, I'll have that warm, fuzzy feeling for a second, but then I'll feel really bad about harboring that feeling. I went to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I didn't mean to talk over you just then, but so I get that, and so I think that like you're a good person, but what I'm hearing is that like, so this is my impression of people who get like caught up with like issues. So I think a lot of people who get caught up with issues have a personal like driving force that causes them to care about that thing. Now that isn't necessarily good or bad, but I think sometimes people will try to save the world at the neglect to like growing as a human being. And the worst case scenario, which unfortunately I've seen, is people who are crappy human beings who who allow for themselves to be crappy because they support a good cause. Right? And like that's sort of like the end goal of like where we don't want to go, which is that I'm going to be like a complete toxic person, but because I support something that is morally correct in the macro sense, it excuses my personal behavior. And I don't need to grow as a good person because I support Black Lives Matter. And if I support Black Lives Matter, then I'm a good person and I can be mean to people on the internet and I can be, I can slash people's tires who are racist and from Texas because Black Lives Matter. And that's what makes me a good person. So I think you've got to be a little bit careful here because I think your mind is doing something very interesting, which is that you have personal experiences, which my sense is that you're projecting those personal experiences and putting the focus of your mind on the outside world. And then what happens is like your mind is looking at all these terrible things in the world and you can't fix those. And so then you begin to feel like, oh my God, the world is like a terrible place and like I can't do anything about it. And how like, look at all these like evil people that are triumphing. And that's like depressing because there's so much evil in the world and like you can't do anything about it. And so, but it's kind of weird because it's like your mind is choosing to look at problems that you have no control over. And I think the reason that you care about those problems is because they relate to you personally. It's like there were evil people who did things to you and the world did not serve them justice. And so you become very, very sensitive to that. I don't mean sensitive in like a, like a weak emotional way. I mean like sensitive in the sense that your mind is like picks up those things in the outside world.
Hyper aware of it.
Hyper aware. Very good. And then what happens is like when those people do get justice, like the part of you that yearned for justice from the bullies, the part of you that yearns for justice from your bandmates when they come around to see that way, like that part of you gets satisfied because that's what it's hungry for. And then you feel guilty because you recognize there's something like fundamentally like wrong about that revelry. So this is where everything I think comes back to home, which is like you've got to work through like your personal issues of being wronged and being non-confrontational and like being on the short end of the stick. Because until like, and as you start to do that, I think it's going to be weird, but like as you develop like tranquility and security in yourself, the problems of the world don't change. It's just you feel capable of like doing something about them. But if you want to fix the world, it's like you have to be like confident in yourself first. And then you can go out and start to do things in the world that will like start to make a dent of a difference. But the problem is if you feel like, if you don't feel confident in yourself, you can have a minor impact on goodness in the world either way. The difference is that the way that you view yourself determines how satisfied you can be with that contribution.
Yeah, I definitely makes sense. I've struggled with kind of like a deep feeling of being a burden for a really long time. And I do go to therapy almost weekly and work on it.
Yeah, good. So I think this is where I've seen this with people who have dysthymia usually, right? So like kind of like what you mentioned, whereas they have these big like existential concerns. And I know it sounds weird, but like in my experience with these people, you don't worry about the existential concerns because the existential concerns are sort of like an externalization of internal conflicts. And what you really focus on is internal conflict. And then suddenly, like if you really make progress there and you make progress in sort of like yourself and your sense of confidence, even though the world hasn't changed, you start to look at it as something that you can like chip away at as opposed to something that is impossible.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've definitely, I have a wonderful support group of friends, and I often catch myself waiting for them to let me down.
Yeah, so that's what you need to work on, Hippo, like root and stem. Right? So it's like when you catch yourself it's beautiful that you're able to do that because like that's the way that your mind looks at the external world too. You've become hyper aware of things that will confirm your negative view of the world. And as long as that hyper awareness is there, your mind will filter out all of the reasons why the world is filter in all of the reasons why the world is a terrible place and why you should feel hopeless. And as long as that filter exists, you're going to view the world as hopeless.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
right? So I think it's good. I think you've taken a really important step in becoming aware of that filter. And like, so like, you know, if you've got the filter, like that's what you've got to remove, and then the world will become a different place.
So I guess like, is removing the filter just, you know, a matter of like talk therapy and individualized treatment at that point?
How long have you been in therapy?
Therapy only about 3-4 months or so.
Okay, good. So I was afraid that because some people with dysthymia will have been in therapy for like decades. And so if you've only been in therapy for 3 or 4 months, I'd say definitely stick with it. I'd give it a minimum of a year to 18 months. If you're feeling like it's not helping, please tell your therapist, hey, I feel like this isn't helping, because that could be your dysthymia itself. Does that make sense?
Saying that nothing is getting better when it
Exactly.
really...
So let your therapist work with you on that. And the reason that you've got to tell, but you also don't want to ignore those feelings, because that could be your dysthymia, or you could have a crappy therapy relationship, right? And you're not going to be able to tell the difference. Does that make sense? So you got to bring it up to your therapist and work through it and see if that's helping, because you may need to switch therapists. But I'd give yourself at least like a year to 18 months in therapy. And also like continue to do, meditate if you can, and become aware of as much as you can, Hippo. You don't have to change anything yet. First, you want to do like reconnaissance and like map everything out in your mind. And the more you map things out, the easier it's going to be to start changing stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely, understand that for sure.
Yeah. Good luck to you, bro.
Thank you. Appreciate the words of encouragement.
I think the fact that you're coming here and you're asking this question, as long as you listen to the voice that brought you here, I think your life will change.
Okay. I think that's probably the big issue, is trusting that voice.
Yep, exactly. Well said. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you just got to learn how to trust it. Because that's the part of you that wants to move forward and make a change in your life. So your biggest challenge is in not trusting that voice. Because until you start trusting it, or you don't even have to trust it, just listen to it anyway.
Got it. Will do. Thanks for all the help.
Take care, Hippo. Good luck, dude.
You as well.
Good dude.
All right, cool. Ready for the next? I'm just gonna drag him in. I know you're
Yep.
ready. Sorry.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Yep.
So
You
so
and
my
everyone
question-
else.
Yeah. So how do you deal with unironically being dead inside due to a long time of suppressing emotions?
So how do you manage having suppressed emotions for a very long time?
Yeah, and I feel kind of dead inside. Like I don't even feel alive. I can't even feel any emotions.
Do you feel any emotions?
Like, let's say I'm playing a game and sometimes I can get frustrated and things like that, but not like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know.
Take your time.
I can feel like the edge of an emotion, if that makes sense. Like I can't feel like hate or love or like happy or maybe sometimes sadness, but it's like it's not like sorry.
Yeah, nope. I think you're doing great. And what am I calling you, friend?
You can call me RKM, or my name is Raven, if you
Raven.
can pronounce that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Ravid, I think so what I'm hearing you say is that you kind of feel the edge of emotion, but you don't really feel emotions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So I think you did a very good job of explaining. What do you think?
I don't think so.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well,
So I understood what you were trying to say, right?
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so Ravid, how long have you felt dead inside?
Like, I was depressed when I was like 13 or 14, around that age,
Mm-hmm.
and probably ever since that.
And how old are you now?
I'm 19, turning 20.
Have you had treatment for depression?
No.
Okay. Would you say that between like 13 and now you felt about the same level of dead inside? Or are there periods of time where you feel like better for a little while and then you go back to feeling dead inside?
Probably that I feel better sometimes.
Okay. And can you help me understand a little bit about why you haven't gotten treatment for depression?
Well, I went to a psychologist once and they didn't really understand me. So they just said like, you don't have depression, like go home or something. I don't know.
So did they offer to see you again, or they said, I'm not going to see you because you don't need to be here?
It was kind of like an appointment to assess if I have depression or not. And that person didn't think I had it.
I see.
So it was kind of ended that.
And how long ago did you see this person?
It was when I was like 15.
Okay. So here's my first thought, Robin. Okay, so you may have depression, and if you have depression, there are treatments for depression. And I think it's worth seeing someone again, right? Because the story...
I don't think I have depression, actually.
What do you think you have?
I don't know what I have. I don't
Okay.
feel anything.
Sure. So I think that's fair. You may have depression, you may not have depression. You may think you don't have depression. I completely agree. I don't know if you have depression or you don't have depression. What I'm saying is that when we think about fixing a problem like this, there's a chance you have depression. And so the right thing to do is to, at least we need to know whether you do or you don't, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that this is the end of my recommendation, but I think a useful piece of this puzzle is going to be getting evaluated by a mental health professional. And the story that when you were 15 and the story when you're 19 are different stories. Does that make sense? Like,
yes.
If you're a 15-year-old and you go see a psychologist once and they ask you about your feelings and stuff, like at 15, you don't even know what you feel, and you've been feeling this way maybe for about a year. Right? But you don't even know how to articulate, like, you don't know how to say what you feel when you're 15 years old. That's a very different story from when I turned 13 or 14, I started feeling depressed, and I haven't really felt emotions for the last 6 years. It's a completely different story.
Yeah.
And so just because someone met you once and didn't think you were depressed when you were 15 doesn't mean that that person was correct, or even that even if they were correct in that day, the story back then and the story now is like very different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that.
Right? So that's a really important like clinical piece to understand, is that if you guys have been evaluated for something at some random time in the past, and you guys like got even like, it's not even, it may have been possible that someone diagnosed you with depression and now you don't have depression. Like there are all kinds of mistakes that can be made in the diagnostic process. And Ravid, I think you should get an evaluation. I'm not going to end there. I'm going to talk to you about, I think, the more the answer that you're looking for. But I think this is the kind of thing where like I would feel stupid if we just talked about feelings and meditation and things like that, and you actually like had clinical depression and like you just didn't get treatment for it, because that would be dumb. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like we're gonna do the Dr. K, like understand yourself and like learn to feel your emotions. We're gonna do all that. I'm gonna give you all that. But like at the end of the day, it's important to be like very like careful and treat yourself with the respect that you deserve, which is giving yourself every opportunity to like get better and overcome this problem. And one of those instruments or one of those tools you can use is a clinical evaluation for some kind of depression. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, on to the Dr. K stuff. Okay, so
Yeah.
so it sounds to me like you're alexithymic. Have you heard us
Yes.
talk? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so what's your understanding of how we approach alexithymia?
I don't know how you approach it, but I know what it is.
You do know what it is,
Yes.
and what's your understanding of what alexithymia is?
You can't really explain how you feel, I guess.
Yep. Yeah. So I would describe alexithymia as like being unable to feel, like understand or feel emotions. So it's like you can't describe how you feel. It's sort of like you're colorblind to emotions. And so alexithymia, like, do you play a lot of video games, Robin?
Yeah, for sure.
How many hours a day would you say you play?
Well, maybe 5.
Okay.
Or
And how do
more.
you spend the rest of your day?
YouTube, Twitch, Dr. K, wasting
Okay.
time, you know?
Yeah, so I think this is the kind of thing where like you literally, like, if you play games and are like consuming YouTube, for most of your day, those things are going to suppress your emotional circuitry in your brain. So there are these things called fMRI studies. So F stands for functional magnetic resonance imaging, which is a study that looks at blood flow to the brain. And what we discover from fMRI studies is that when you play video games and do this kind of mindless stuff, like watch YouTube and things like that, what they do is they actually reduce the blood flow to the parts of your brain that experience emotion. And so you're kind of like, you activate this like dopamine circuitry and shut down your emotional circuitry, which is why games feel so good and that we use them as a coping mechanism. Anything that we use as a coping mechanism reduces our negative, like our ability to experience negative emotions. So like earlier today, I had something stressful happen and like I pulled up Valheim for like 15 or 20 minutes and it made me feel better because like you kind of forget and then like all those negative emotions like go away for a little bit. And so I think this is where we've got to really approach this kind of from a couple of different angles. One is that as long as you're basically like playing games at this rate, it's going to be difficult for you to feel emotions because you're going to be shutting off, you're going to be reducing blood flow to the part of your brain that like can experience emotion. And so, this is where we've got to think a little bit about how you can do other stuff. So the next thing is that any questions about that? I mean, I that's kind of complicated, but I was going to lay out 2 or 3 other things.
I want to add that, like, I think I also use like orgasm to do the same thing.
Yep. Yeah. So people do that, right? So if you look at people, like we've had a couple of porn addiction streams, which you should check out on YouTube. But like so orgasm and like pornography and things like that are also other ways to like suppress emotions.
Yeah.
And so Ravid, you've got a couple of other options going forward. The first is that if you want to get in touch with your emotions, like you have to cut back on some of these things. If you can't cut back on those, that's okay. There are other things you can do. So the next is that like you can intentionally activate that emotional circuitry. So this is what things like therapy, or we do this in coaching too, where like our coaches work a lot with people with alexithymia, because like your coaches will, and what they're going to tell you is that like you can access your emotions through your body too. So especially for men who are alexithymic, I would say that even if you can't feel the emotion, you may feel stuff like in your body. Like, does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yes.
What do you feel in your body?
Right now?
Like, that could be an emotion.
I have to think. Wait.
Let me ask you this. What do you feel in your body when you go to bed at night?
Warmth.
What?
Warm.
Warm. Okay. Do you feel safe?
Yes. Relaxed.
Okay, so you do feel relaxed. Like, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning?
Tired. I don't know. I can't really put myself
Okay.
in that.
So this is where, like, when you feel the edge of an emotion, because you say you feel the edge of them, right? When you feel that edge of emotion, do you notice that you feel particular things in your body at the same time?
I don't really notice it. But
Okay. So that's something that you've got to pay attention to. So, like, the next time that you feel at the edge of an emotion, I want you to pay attention to your body and see if something is different in your body. You may feel something like in your stomach. You may feel something in your throat. You may feel something in your chest. You may feel like tension in your back. And that's going to be your, like, avenue into the emotion.
yeah.
That's something you can kind of do on your own, but this is also something that, like, if you work, with a trained professional, it can help. So I think, second thing, a couple of other things about alexithymia is that, like, when you do, like, coaching and therapy, like, what's going to happen is that they're going to be asking questions that are going to be bringing the emotion up. And so, like, during those times, like, the blood flow to your emotional centers of the brain is going to be higher. And as you wake those parts up, as you learn how to feel those emotions, then it's going to be like you're going to start to get the whole range of them. And so, like, I sort of experienced this when I had kids because my emotional circuitry, like, got more active. And so then what happened is I started, like, crying and stuff, like, all the time. Like, I didn't used to cry, but now I, like, cry all the time on stream. And so what I found is that I could feel love more intensely, and I could also feel, like, sadness more intensely. And now I'm not recommending that you go out and have a child to fix this problem, but, like, my point is that essentially, like, if we look at our alexithymia, what happens is if we turn up the volume on our emotions, we turn up the volume on all of our emotions. And so then the next question is, what are the emotions that you're trying to avoid?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Loneliness. But that's not an emotion, but
Sure it is.
it is.
Sure.
well, that I guess.
Right? So, like, this is where, so now what's happening, Ravid, is that you're feeling lonely, and then you do certain things to push the loneliness away.
Yeah, I know.
Right? And so as long as that cycle is going on, you're not going to feel much because you're actually trying to not feel.
Yeah, but I'm kind of, like, addicted, so I can't stop.
You're damn right you're addicted. So how do you get unaddicted, right? So that's where, like, you've got to start by facing that loneliness. Because as long as you're afraid, as long as the loneliness controls you, and as long as you can't feel lonely, you're going to be addicted to this stuff. And the more that, because think about this, why are you addicted to it? It's because you can't sit with being lonely.
Exactly.
Like, it hurts so much to be lonely. You're like, I can't feel that. I'm not going to do it.
yeah.
And as long as you can't sit with the loneliness, then you're going to keep doing the thing because that's the way that you make the loneliness go away. So of course you're addicted. Whether it's orgasms, masturbation, video games, Netflix, YouTube, whatever. It's all to run away from the loneliness. And if you want all of that stuff to come crashing down, you have to sit with the loneliness. Learn to be with the loneliness. If you can do that, then you don't need to play video games 5 hours a day.
I also want to add, like, I'm trying to become, like, a pro player, so it's hard to stop gaming because of that also.
Okay. I mean, I think that if you want to be a successful pro player, you're going to have to deal with the loneliness.
How do I deal with the loneliness?
Go see a therapist, or you could do coaching too, but I'd really recommend therapy and a clinical evaluation.
I can't really afford therapy.
Okay. That's a tricky thing. What country are you in?
Sweden.
I thought it was free for you guys.
It is?
I think so.
I think until you're 20, it is.
I would definitely check into that.
You think it's not true? Or what do you mean check into it?
I would investigate whether you actually have to pay for it or if there's some way you can get it for free.
All right, I will.
And there are usually like even people who will in any country, oh, well, I don't know about any country, but generally speaking, in North America and in Europe, there are organizations that will offer therapy for free. So you just have to find one of those organizations. I'm not too sure, but I think that there are like organizations. You can check out Rise Above the Disorder, which is a good organization. I think it's based in the United States. I don't know if they do things in Europe, but I thought Sweden had socialized medicine.
Maybe they do. I'm not saying. I'm just saying what I think.
Yeah.
Or,
So I would investigate that. Because I think the problem that you're going to face in the Swedish healthcare system is that you're going to have to wait a long time to find a therapist. But I think it should be free for you.
Also, I think you mentioned like when you meditate and you get like a no mind state, that's when the emotions like come up.
Yeah.
Because you're not suppressing them anymore. But I haven't really been so successful in getting there.
Okay, so that's perfectly fine. So I would continue practicing meditation. And this is where you may be able to find like a local group that you can join to like, help you meditate on a regular basis. And if you haven't entered a no mind state, that's totally fine.
Oh, yeah.
But I would how much have you practiced meditation?
Well, it's kind of on and off. I'm mostly aware during the day. I like notice when the inhalation becomes exhalation.
Good.
I'm very aware of that during the day.
Yeah, okay, so that's good that you're aware. So in your case, I would recommend a really formal meditation practice. So not just
I do
awareness.
Formal also.
Okay, good. So just keep chipping away at it. How long have you been meditating, Robin?
I think I started like maybe 2 years ago, but I got really active when my friend recommended your videos on like Recful, and that's when I find you.
Okay.
And then I started doing like it more.
Okay. So I think, continue meditating for sure, but I would say get a clinical evaluation. And then, you can, our coaching program is like pretty cheap. I don't know if you're going to be able to afford that. Sometimes we also have subsidy funds available. So like we have money that, we about 25% of our clients, we pay for their coaching. But the problem is that, the more people that take advantage of that, the quicker the money runs out. So I just don't know if we have any money left because we burned through it pretty quickly. We've had about 500 or 600 free clients at this point. But, this is the kind of thing where I would definitely like do your homework a little bit and try to get some support around working through your emotions. And if you want to give it a shot, you can sign up for coaching and then they can work on alexithymia with you. But I really think you should see a clinician first.
But what if they think I don't have depression? Or what if they do? What do I do then?
That's where like that answer happens when you do the next thing when you figure that out. So like if they say you have depression, then you follow their treatment recommendations and then you get better. If you don't have depression, then I would say sign up for our coaching program and work with one of our coaches. And in the meantime, continue watching stuff as best as you can with us about like alexithymia and things like that. and try to
Yeah.
work on it. Like continue to meditate, continue working at it. What game are you trying to go pro in?
Valorant.
Cool. How's that going?
I don't know. Pretty good. Or like I don't know. I'm getting there
Good.
soon.
So
Then I can pay for coaching when I get rich.
yeah. So that's fine. Like I said, you can go ahead and sign up, and we'll see if we can find money for you. But the other thing is so my experience working with professional players is that the players who perform the best are the ones that are like emotionally in a very good place. So I'll see anywhere between a 10 and 25% improvement, or this is what people tell me. Actually, the people that I work with will say that they see anywhere between a 10 and 50% improvement in their play when their mental space is like very positive. So I think that if you really want to go pro, you have to work on this.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah.
Could you like give me a mantra or
No.
is that okay?
I'm sorry, but I can't give you a mantra.
No, it's fine.
So it's and let me be clear about this. So I don't give people mantras. Mantras come to me to give to people. So it's not that I don't want to give it to you. It's that when I give someone a mantra, like basically what I do is meditate, and in the no mind state, a mantra floats to the surface, and that's how I know when to give it to them. It's not actually something I control.
Yeah, also, aren't you like a kind of a guru? You like give meditations to people and like,
I don't know, what's a guru? How would you define a guru?
Well, I don't know.
Do you feel like I'm a guru?
Yes.
Okay, what does that mean to you?
It means. What does it mean? I don't know what it means. I'm just asking.
Yeah. So why do you think I'm a guru?
Because you give meditations to people.
Yeah, so I think it's more than that. So if you want to define a guru as someone who teaches meditation, then sure, I fit that definition. I'm someone who teaches meditation. But I think the part of the reason you're having trouble answering this question, Ravid, is because the reason that you're wondering about this guru business and the reason you're asking me for a mantra is because of a feeling you have. What do you think about that?
That would be funny.
Yeah. So good. So why don't you spend some time exploring that, right? So I'll ask you a last question. Do you feel like I am your guru?
I wish.
So is
That's
it a
not
wish?
a feeling though. Wait, I have to like dig in my body.
Good. You're learning.
Wait, what was the question? Do I feel like you're my guru?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a specific question, right? So you asked, am I a guru? That's a philosophical question, abstract question. And then I asked you, do you feel like I am your guru? And so like that's a feeling, right? So where does that come from? What do you feel, Robin?
Right now?
Yeah, when I ask you that question, like why do you feel that way? Tell me about that feeling.
I don't know, it's kind of like it's something in my like subconscious. I don't know where it comes from, where it is. It just kind of exists. I can't explain it. I don't.
Good. So look, this is what I tell you. I think you're on the right path. Okay. So like this is the thing. So like you're doing this thing where like you're sitting there and you're exploring what's inside of you, which I think ultimately is the thing to do. That's what you need to do. Is explore, right? So see why you feel that way. What is that feeling? What is this thing in my subconscious? Why do you say it's in your subconscious? It's because you're not quite aware of it. And so, okay,
Yeah.
so like start to get more familiar with like what's inside you. And like learn about yourself and you'll become better at Valorant. Like, because the more you understand this instrument that is Ravid, the more successful you are going to be at life.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if at some point Arc Karmas allow for like me to teach you a mantra, I'm more than happy to, but I don't have one for you right now. Like, I don't know what to give you. And I'm sorry, but if I was a real guru, I would be able to do that. But like, I don't control it. It's RNG. It's like a loot
Fuck.
box. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Fuck.
I'm just not that good. But, you know, like at some point, you know, if I can teach you something more personal in terms of meditation and the opportunity arises, I'm more than happy to. Nothing is clicking right now, for which I'm sorry. But, you know, I would say
Make
that like,
it click.
yeah, right. So, and this is where, you know, I think like I would still say like my recommendations are pretty consistent. So I think you should get a clinical evaluation for any kind of depression, because it's like you just don't have to. I can tell you this as a psychiatrist, so whether I'm a guru or not, who knows, but I can certainly say that I'm a psychiatrist. And what I would tell you is that I've worked with a lot of people who have suffered from depression for years, like that started in adolescence, and they are staggered and stunned when they discover and they start to feel better. They're like, I had no idea that I like didn't have to feel that way. And I don't think you have to continue feeling the way that you do. And I would start with mental health treatment, not rando gurus on the internet. Second thing
You're not
is
random. Sorry.
okay.
Sorry.
That was a little bit of a joke, but so second thing is you know, if that doesn't work out, you're welcome to do coaching or whatever. Third thing is like I would continue meditating and more importantly explore some of these things, because I think you actually have more feelings. You're just level 1 when it comes to like exploring your feelings. So spend some time just like sitting with yourself and seeing what floats to the surface. And if you can't feel anything, be like, okay, so like what can I feel? What gets in the way of those feelings? And I think you can explore, because I think you're doing a good job. I think the meditation has had some effect, because you were pretty quick in sort of figuring out that you feel like I'm your guru, which is like absolutely a feeling. You were pretty quick in figuring
I
out
felt
that.
that a long time.
Okay, so like I think you're more familiar with your feelings than you realize. Like, you know that you feel lonely. You know you have this feeling of connection. And those are just feelings inside you. It's not like a cosmic truth. It's just a feeling inside you. And then recognize that like you actually know what you feel, right? Like I've asked you a couple times, you know that you feel lonely. You know that you feel this connection. So you're better at this than you give yourself credit for. And this is where, like, if we think about how are you able to get in touch with these feelings, it's because you're accessing them in an intentional way. Does that make sense? Like, over the course of this conversation, you're like sending blood to your emotional circuitry.
But I don't feel lonely right now. It's like a wave in the ocean.
Yes. Yes. Good.
I like don't masturbate for like 3 days. Comes back, I push it away. Repeat, you know?
Yeah, so you need some help, Ravid, through that journey, I think. I mean, you can do it on your own. It's just harder to do on your own, right? So the advantage of turning to professionals is that they can like teach you in 1 year what may take you like 3 years to learn on your own. But I think just continue to, you know, work on yourself. And the last thing that I recommend is that you do some kind of yoga or Tai Chi if you can.
I do Surya Namaskar with you.
Very good.
Which you
Excellent.
teach on like webinars.
Excellent. Dude, listen, Ravid, you're going to be okay. Like, if you keep
How
on
do you
doing
know?
all this stuff, like you're making changes, like these things take some time to work, but they'll have an effect over time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I wasn't able to give you, in a sense, what you're asking for.
Why can't you? Sorry.
What do you want from me, Robin? Let's start there.
I want help.
Do you feel like this has been helpful?
Well, you kind of told me go do this, keep doing that. I already done that, and it hasn't.
I'll ask you
worked.
again. Was this helpful?
Let me think. Let me think for a second. Can I think for a second?
Oh no, chat. He's using my techniques against me.
But actually, let me think. Hmm. Has this been helpful? $1,000,000 question. I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know.
So I get the sense that you're unsatisfied. I get the
Yeah.
sense that what you want is like a deeper conversation, a deeper relationship, and more specific guidance.
True. Yes.
And so why can't I give you that? I mean, the honest answer, and I feel like it's important to be honest here, is because I'm unwilling to. So I make a choice in my day that there are some things that I prioritize more than other things. And I have no doubt that if I flew to Sweden and we spent a weekend together, that it would be helpful to you. I have no doubt that that would be the case. But the simple truth is that, like, that's not something. Can I do it? Sure. I mean, technically I can. I mean, I can, well, I don't know if Sweden will let me in because I'm from America, so maybe not right now. But like theoretically, it is within my power to book a flight to Sweden and like show up at your doorstep and be like, let's work on this, Robin. And I have to be honest with myself because like I have to be like, this is hard, but and the reason that I'm not giving you what you want is because I'm not willing to. There are certain things like my children that I consider to be more important than your well-being. And is that fair to you? Maybe not. But like, let's be clear that like, I don't get to say because I can't, because that's not really what I'm saying. That's not really the reason I'm not giving you what you want. The real reason I'm not giving you what you want is because there are other things on my schedule that I choose to prioritize over you. Right? And like, that's the hard struggle that I sit with every day. Like I just had a discussion like literally a couple of hours ago about taking a new client, like in my personal coaching practice. And then 2 people in my organization told me that I don't have the time for it. And they were like, you got to remember that what you're working on is like there to help thousands of people. And so like, we need more time for that. So this is
Isn't enlightenment like realizing that everything is one?
Sure.
Like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
yeah, sorry. Go on.
But I'm
question marks.
So, Robin, here's the thing. So I would say that our karmas don't allow for you to get from me what you're looking for in this moment. Doesn't mean that it won't happen in the future. And I'm actually confident that, like, I think there's something really important here, which is like, you've got to learn how to value what you're doing instead of what you think will work. So you had a 30-minute conversation with Dr. K, and oh my God, it didn't help at all. That's a really important lesson for you to learn. And like, it's a hard lesson for you to learn because what I'm telling you to do is to continue doing essentially the stuff that you didn't think was useful. But like, this is the whole problem, is there isn't like a 30-minute conversation. If it hasn't cured you, oh shit, maybe you should do the things that you should continue doing. And like, be careful because your mind is going to tell you, oh, it doesn't work, but you've got to keep doing it. Like, you've got to grind at your mental health the same way you grind in Valorant. And in what I can share with you, I can tell, Ravid, that you're unsatisfied, which is totally fine. But like, you know, you don't have to protect me from letting you down, is what I mean by that. So I think it's fine. Like, you know, I wish I could do more for you. But at the end of the day, like all of my professional training and all of my like, you know, time spent studying and things like that tells me that you're 19. And it sounds like you've been taking this stuff seriously for like about a year, a little bit more than a year. And I think if you continue doing these things, they will have their effect. I mean, I meditated and worked on stuff for like years before it really like took hold. And it's a slow process, and keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but that's the best I've got for you for now. But I do feel a little bit disappointed in myself, and I'm going to try to do more for you in the future. I just don't know what that looks like. But
What? You're going to do more for me in the future?
I'm going to try.
Wait, continue. Go on. Expand on that.
There's nothing to expand. It's just I feel like I want to do more for you. And so I will be aware of opportunities. Like, so this is why like I really want to have a retreat, because I want to see people in person and work with them intensely. So we can't right now, but you know, we want to do a retreat. Like we want to do a retreat, like one in NA and one in EU. And I think if we have a retreat, like you should come.
Yeah, I would love to.
So would I. And at the same time, there are some things in this life that are out of our control. And so we do the best that we can with the hand that we're dealt. And in your case, I would start with seeing a mental health professional, continuing to meditate, continuing to do yoga, and you will grow as a person.
Yes.
Good luck, Robin.
Thank you, Dr. K. I love you.
Let me think about this for a second. I love you too, man.
Don't think about it. Just feel.
Fuck this guy. Listen to yourself.
What?
I thought you called in because you didn't know how to feel.
I don't know how to feel.
And then how can you say that?
I tell you. I told you how just feel.
Yeah. And you also told me that you loved me. So where does that come from?
I don't know, maybe I just lied.
Did you?
Did I?
Lie?
Question mark?
I don't think you did.
Me neither.
So I think you, like I said, this is going to work for you. And I think it's working more than you realize.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay. Good luck, Ravid.
Thank you, Dr. K. Love you.
Love you too, man. Moses?
I don't know. Like people sometimes sit down. Like I feel bad for kicking them.
No, I think we're done. We said we love each other twice.
Okay, bye. What about me?
What about you?
All right. Wait, why are we in sub mode?
Okay. I think we're based for the day.
We're based?
What does that mean? I don't even know. People say based.
Wait, do you want to know, or do you want to still like exist?
I'm just gonna use it inappropriately and swim around in my ignorance.
It means like you give an opinion that is like out there, but people agree with, kind of.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So anyway, guys, I think it was a lot of fun to do viewer call-ins again. Like I really like connecting with people, and I think that I want you guys to really understand this. Like if you guys are doing the right stuff, just keep doing it. Be very careful about what your mind tells you. Okay? And like, this is the kind of thing where, like, I think especially with that last case, like, I don't think Ravid was trolling. I really don't. I think he's just, it's hard, right? Because he feels things, but like, he's colorblind to feelings. And so I think that he's on his journey. It can be like a really confusing, he's like in this adolescence of like emotional development. And it's kind of like awkward because he's going through like puberty. And he's like, I mean, we heard a lot of feelings from him. We heard loneliness, we heard love, we heard some kind of connection to me. And like, he has these feelings and he just doesn't know how to kind of sit with them or swim with them yet, which is totally fine. It's just like, it's part of that process. And I think if we talked to him a year ago, we wouldn't have gotten that much. And it really didn't take long, 20 to 30 minutes to get to some weird feelings that he didn't really like, was surprised by or maybe felt, whatever. But like, he feels stuff. And I think the reason he feels stuff is because it sounds like he's been like meditating and doing yoga for a while. And if you guys continue doing the right stuff, it will have an effect, right? You don't have to like, if you go to the gym every day, like sure, you can work with a personal trainer to like get an optimized workout. But if you go to the gym and you do something, it may be inefficient, but eventually like it'll start to show results. And that's what I want you guys to understand about doing like meditation and yoga and like this kind of stuff. You may think that there's this particular thing that's supposed to happen, but it's that very thought that gets in the way of your actual growth. And so be really careful about thinking that I'm your savior, because we just saw that, you know, a 30-minute conversation doesn't save anyone. In fact, it can be quite disappointing if you guys meet me in the flesh or you have a talk with Dr. K, which is like, okay, I'm sorry I'm not divine. But at the end of the day, like a 30-minute conversation with Dr. K is not going to transform your life. What will transform your life is getting mental health treatment if you have an illness. What will transform your life is like cutting back on video games and learning how to sit with yourself. What will transform your life is meditating every day and doing yoga every day. What will transform your life is not even doing meditation or yoga every day. It's like doing it a couple of days this week, and then like skipping a week and then getting back on it and doing like 2 days the next week. And it's like, you know, fits and starts, but like gradual growth over time. You got to invest in this stuff. Sow these karmic seeds, which will bear fruit in the future. And ultimately, that's what it took. I don't think people like get this, but you know, the whole reason that we do this at Healthy Gamer is because it took me like years, guys. I'm 38 years old and I went to my first ashram at the age of 21. So what you guys are seeing now is like 17 years of effort. And there were times where, like, case in point, like, you know, I meditate now 2 to 3 times a week. And like I do yoga like once every 2 weeks. Like my life is a mess right now. It's hard. And so, you know, it takes time. I'm not perfect and neither are you. Nor do you need to be. Just keep doing a little bit better on a semi-regular basis, and you guys will be fine. Reach out for help and support when you need it. You know, spend time investigating, learning, do all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, hang out on our Discord, sign up for coaching, whatever. Watch our YouTube videos. Go and, you know, read something. Go for a walk, stare at a wall, meditate, like do something for yourself. Because it doesn't matter how inefficiently you grind, you just got to keep grinding. And then you'll get there one day. You guys are on a journey where there are a lot of things working against you. And so like that's okay too. I mean, we heard from Zuma that she's, you know, dealing with her dad. We heard from Ravid that he's trying to go pro and like, you know, leans on like, you know, what sounds like masturbation. I mean, he said orgasm, but you know, didn't sound like he was getting laid right and left. But, you know, so use what you can. Like, you recognize that there are going to be things that are working against you. We heard problems with relationships. Sorry, I didn't mean to be. I didn't, it wasn't supposed to be like a dig. It was just like, you know, I just noticed that he used the word orgasm and then I assumed that he meant masturbation, which was an assumption on my part based on the way that he was talking. But maybe he was. So, anyway, so like just case in point, right? So here I am trying to be wise and teach people things. And then I get sidetracked because my mind is like, oh, maybe he wasn't jerking off. Maybe he was getting laid. And like my mind is like, oh, like let's think about that right now. In this moment on the stream, let's think about whether Ravid is getting laid. And my mind is like, oh, interesting. You know? And then it's like, there goes my attempt at trying to be wise on the internet and supporting people and inspiring them. And like now we're talking about jerking off and getting laid. It's like, GG, go next. But that's life. That's exactly what I'm telling you guys. Is that like y'all are going to have good weeks and you're going to have bad weeks. There are going to be weeks that you show up and you watch our stream and it's going to be like profound and touching and you're going to feel attacked and heard and transformed. And there are going to be times where Dr. K's Vata mind is like, oh, maybe he's getting laid. So what does that mean for us, right? Does that mean that, okay, well, it looks like I screwed up. Better stop streaming now? No. We're not going to stop streaming. You know, we're going to keep at it and we're going to have more viewer call-ins. And sometimes I'm going to be able to help people and they're going to find it really helpful. And sometimes they're going to call in and they're going to be disappointed because I wasn't able to help them very much. I think I was able to help Robin more than he realizes, but that's neither here nor there. And that's what it's about, right? So I want you guys to continue working on yourself like you're a project and it's going to take you years to ascend to your final form. And there are going to be like different expansions and DLCs and stuff like that. Like there was like Ravid before, you know, his friend told him about our YouTube videos, and there's Ravid after. That's one step forward. Now he's meditating. Now he's doing yoga. Like that's awesome. And then there's going to be like Ravid 3.0, which is like Ravid goes sees a therapist and he's like, oh shit, I have clinical depression. Get some treatment. Get some help with that. And then there's going to be Ravid like 4.0, which is like Ravid meets someone. And then he has like this romantic relationship and he feels less lonely. And then he screws that up because like he doesn't know how to be vulnerable. And then like he works through that. And then like he patches things up and then he gets married. And then he has a child. And once he has a child, then like his emotional circuits turn on. And then that's a Ravid like 6.0. Right? And that's like, that's what life is like. There are a lot of setbacks. Things don't end up the way that we want them to. Things certainly don't end up the way we expect them to, but you keep plugging away because that's all you can do. As a human being, all you are entitled to in life is your actions, not the results of your actions. And so keep trying because that's all we've got. Okay, chat, who are we?
Wait.
So
There,
yeah.
Wait, no, there's one more announcement.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so it looks like we're looking for a product designer. So we have a job posting, which I will post. So something at Healthy Gamer. So we have like employees now. So like this is cool, but like you guys have turned this into a real company. And so we hire people like noobs from our community. And we're like building this together. And so, you know, if you guys, so unlike a cult, I know this sounds weird. I know it sounds weird. Unlike a cult, we actually, so there are a couple of things that we're still learning in the cult department, right? So, you know, it seems like we're doing pretty well in people thinking that I'm their savior. So that's a plus. Things that we're struggling a little bit with is that we tend to encourage people to connect with their family members and like deepen their relationships outside of Healthy Gamer. I know it's a real problem. Like it's hard to be a cult when you encourage people to like go and do things outside of your cult and go and like patch things up with their friends and form like meaningful relationships with other human beings who are not drinking our Kool-Aid. That's a problem. Second problem that we have is that we actually don't take advantage, or we try not to take advantage of people, and we actually pay our employees. So that's tough. But, you know, that's something that we're working on. We're working on being more predatory as an organization. And
Wait, what? What?
No, it's sarcasm, Zach.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Sorry.
I'm pointing out to people that we are not actually a cult because we actually pay our employees. And that we are not a cult because most cults want people to join the cult and not talk to anyone else outside. Whereas like as an organization, you know, we now work with parents and we try to have their parents connect with their kids. Like, And then we work with kids and we try to have kids connect with and strengthen their relationships with their parents. So it's like, it's not about, cults are like when everything comes from us. And what we try to do is like, actually, you may need to go see a therapist. It's like indoctrinating parents. Boy, I wish. Actually, that is true. That's kind of frightening, isn't it? If the parents and the children are all part. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Zach,
like I don't get, like, you're digging yourself a hole.
Wait, are we a cult,
You're-
Zach?
You're not making it better.
I'm just talking about what we're doing. Are we a cult?
I mean, in some senses, yes.
Oh my goodness. That's
A little bit. People, they come on stream and they're like, "Oh, my savior." Well, a little bit cult-like.
okay. I guess we got to turn up the dial on the cultimeter.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what do we do about that?
I don't want to kill the vibe, but we have a cult meeting in 10 minutes. We blew past the other cult meeting.
That's true.
We're
I
50
realize
minutes
that.
over in the cult
Okay.
meeting.
So who are we rating then?
And a reminder, you should eat after this. That's what Rudy said.
Yes, I do need to eat after this.
Who do we raid?
Gargalon?
No, don't. Oh my god. Why would you?
I'm just reading chat, dude.
God,
What?
like gargle on these nuts. I think. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just thought I thought it was like some dude.
What? Yeah. No.
There is some guy named Gargle on. Garkl. So I just Googled Gargle on. Oh, don't do an image search, chat. Gargle on. Okay. I let my guard down. I was stunned by the realization that we may actually be a cult. Oh my god. But I'm pretty sure you can't be a cult leader if you get trolled by Twitch chat in the same way over and over and over again. So that's -1 on the cultimeter. Okay, so but who are we rating? Train? We haven't read a Train in a while.
No.
All right, guys. Well, so thank you guys very much for coming once again. Hopefully this was helpful. Just a reminder that all of our, we appreciate all of your support in terms of Twitch Prime subs, whatever. I'm grateful to Night Vision, who's been a long-term supporter of the stream, and other people have been gifting subs. So thank you guys very much. Just a reminder that the stream proceeds and stuff, do go to support our programs and support our community. And so we do our best to try to, do what we can in terms of financially helping people in terms of coaching and whatnot. They also do things like go to pay our the jobs that we have. So thank you guys very much for all of your support. We really, really appreciate it. Love you guys. And hopefully at some point all these funds will fund things like retreats, which we did a couple years ago, but then COVID. So looking forward to giving lots of hugs to people, but not contracting COVID whenever it is safe. And we'll see y'all on Wednesday. Just a reminder that we're going to be talking with the technician, who's the person behind Code Miko. And then on Friday, we've got Los Pollos TV. So take care, and we'll see y'all later. Send Train some love. Adios, guys, and women, and everything in between.